The following program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Ori? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. I gotta start off by saying, yo, man, I am stressed. I am stressed. Very, very stressed. This last 3 hours, I've been stressing over tonight's show. At one point, I was like, heck it, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Look at me. I'm not even look how I'm dressed. I don't dress like this normally. This is not like show attire. There's a certain set, scripted show attire. There is, and this is not it. This is not it. This is sick wear, if you're wondering. This is what I wear. Like the sweatshirt, that's like, okay, I'm not feeling well. I'm just gonna throw on a sweatshirt and throw my camera on. No, this tonight. This is stress wear. Stress. I'm stressed. Why? Well, okay. So when I found out about MSNBC's solo interview of Kamala, which is the first real solo interview she was doing, I was like, okay, I want to watch that. And I want to debunk that. I want to break that down, and I just want to cover that. And I start doing what I need to do in order to set that show up. And then I'm like, okay, I don't see a link. I don't see a link for that. I don't know what to do with this. I'm like, so I Google how to watch the Kamala MSNBC interview, and I see it's basically you have to go through your network provider, which I don't have TV. Okay, I don't have a TV. So I don't have no network provider like Dish or Pluto. I don't have this stuff. Okay, so no, that's not gonna work. Okay, now, and I'm like, why would they not? Don't they reckon? Aren't they trying to help her win? Don't they realize that Americans want to see this? What is happening here? Am I able to stream it if it's behind a paywall? Sometimes I know, when I tried sharing a 30-second clip from Netflix a long time ago, back before they became a scary company, and the whole screen goes black. I was like, I don't even know if it'll work. I don't know if I'll be able to share anything. I don't even be able to see anything. I'm very stressed. And then finally, I don't know, an hour ago, it drops that MSNBC just oh, here it is. I'll give it to you. I was like, maybe I'll show clips of it and the reaction. I was very, very stressed. Very, very stressed. So I apologize for the late show tonight. I'm also stressed because of the Ungag Trump thing. I felt very badly that I promoted that last night. I was going to walk you all through the most recent updates in Good Lawgic versus Merchan and my desperate efforts to try and fix this willful violation of freedom of speech, basic core freedom of speech, and understandings and perspectives as to how that operates that were thoroughly violated by first Merchan, then the First Department, and now the Court of Appeals for the state of New York. I promised I was going to give you an update, and I forgot. Literally 2 seconds after I turned off my camera, I was like, damn it! I knew I forgot tonight. I promised yesterday I was going to share, and I didn't. So I'm going to open the show tonight by giving you all a brief background as to what this is, what it's about, what I'm doing, and how you can get involved if, in fact, you're so inclined. Thank you. Thank you very much. There are no black tie tracksuits. All right. Well, okay. So let's get into it. Some of you may not be familiar exactly with what I'm talking about when I talk about the Ungag Trump lawsuit. So I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to break down for you the lawsuit as far as its core elements in under 3 minutes. In under 3 minutes, I'm going to go through procedurally, spend the next minute walking you through procedurally where everything was and what the story is. Okay. And then in the last minute of this, I'm going to try and tie up exactly what's happening going forward. So we got a 5-minute counter, 3 minutes for backstory, 1 minute for procedural, and 1 minute to give you the actual update for those of you who are kept up. So if you already know the backstory and you need to go, I don't know, to go wash your hands for 3 minutes, here we go. Okay. In the New York City action that was brought by Alvin Bragg against Donald Trump, they obtained a gag order against him that was entered on or about, I want to say, March 30th or thereabouts. There was a follow-up order called which was expanded somewhat. Those orders restricted him from being able to talk about any witnesses. He wasn't able to talk about anyone working for the DA's office. He wasn't able to talk about potential witnesses like Stormy Daniels, Michael Cohen, all these other folks. Couldn't talk about anything related to the jury. Couldn't talk about anyone. And the expanded order said you can't even talk about anyone related to the judge or Alvin Bragg. Now, the former of that, related to the judge, became a very big issue because one of the issues that Trump was continually complaining about was the fact that Judge Merchan's daughter is being paid millions of dollars by the DNC to help promote Joe Biden, who at the time was his opponent, and also working with Kamala Harris as well. So it's really not much difference with respect to that element of it. Anyway, when he brought down that order, Judge Merchan relied in large part on 2 prior holdings, which also similarly gagged him. One of them came down in the D.C. Circuit Court case with Judge Chutkan, the case that Jack Smith has ongoing there. Judge Chutkan issued a gag order, and in that gag order was ultimately appealed up to the district court, the circuit court for the D.C. Circuit, and the D.C. Circuit affirmed that decision by Judge Chutkan. When Merchan was entering his order, he spent a lot of time referencing back to that ruling that was issued by the D.C. Circuit Court. He also referenced back to Judge Engoron, who in the civil action that he was sued for hundreds of millions of dollars and then facing a judgment of about $450 million or thereabouts. So Engoron gave an order gagging Trump in that case as well, but that's a civil trial, not a criminal trial. So, and the other one, the problem with it is it's not New York, it was DC. So he basically took the 2 of those decisions together, molded them into one big clump of an issue. And what he basically came out with, the premise that he came out with as to why it is that he's allowed to gag Trump, which sounds completely unconstitutional, it sounds ridiculous, is he cited that he and the DC Circuit Court cited 3 different cases, 3 different Supreme Court cases, really a lot more than 3 different cases. And what they did was they took a little nugget from this case, a little nugget from that case, a little nugget from here, and they took a line from here, a line from there, a line from here, a line from there, and they tried weaving together this brand new theory whereby you're allowed to gag, a court is potentially allowed to infringe on free speech rights in order to protect for the fair interest in the administration of the fair administration of justice. That's essentially what they're saying. They say, look, freedom of speech and freedom of the press, which really there were mostly freedom of the press issues that came up there. But the Supreme Court, to be fair, really seems to interrelate them very, very closely with each other. So you can certainly fault any judge at a lower level who's going to similarly do that. You're only walking in the footsteps of the Supreme Court, and that's what they're all taught to do, and that's what we want them to do. So I don't have a problem with them interrelating those. But what they basically looked at was 3 different cases. One of them was Shepard v. Maxwell. That case was a bizarre case where there was back in the 60s, where there was a criminal defendant in that case who basically the Supreme Court recognized this guy never had a fair trial. Never had a fair trial. Why did he not have a fair trial? Because the media came in and they were handling that case and they were haranguing everyone. They were in the jury well. They were everywhere. When the jury would come out for a cigarette, this is the 60s, people could still smoke inside courtrooms, inside court buildings or inside buildings anywhere. So they would basically be having a cigarette in the lobby talking to the jurors. This is the media, and the media was convinced that the defendant in that case had butchered his own family. And they're talking to them during deliberations saying, you're going to find him guilty, aren't you? I mean, they were really influencing very directly the jury. And what the Supreme Court said in that case is, look, sometimes when we're really, really, really big advocates for free speech, you got to be really careful before you ever do it. But sometimes we can see where First Amendment rights can go a little bit out of the realm of issues here. so much so that it's impacting his Sixth Amendment rights to a fair trial. And in those circumstances, you got to do a little bit of a balancing test. And this came up similarly in Nebraska Association versus Stewart. It also came up in a third case. In each of these cases, Landmark Communications versus Virginia is not really a trial setting, but also similarly, what the court employed in all those scenarios was this balancing test. And each time the balancing test was a test of First Amendment rights on one person possesses, and those First Amendment rights are being used so aggressively, so egregiously, that it's destroying someone else's Sixth Amendment rights to a fair trial. And the court said, look, sometimes you have to sort of look back and see, is this affecting this other person's Sixth Amendment rights? And then in those circumstances, we should do whatever little is necessary, whatever the bare minimum is necessary, as little as you must do in order to ensure that this guy's actually getting a fair trial. That's what the balancing test is. And this balancing test is what the D.C. Circuit Court, Judge Merchan, all of them relied on in order to establish that, hey, you know what? That sometimes you can gag someone here. And so basically what they said was, well, look, over here we have to have a balancing test between fair administration of justice versus Trump's First Amendment rights. The problem with that analysis, as employed by the D.C. Circuit Court and as employed by Judge Merchan, Judge Engelrun, is that they ignored the fact that in this circumstance, you don't have one party's constitutional rights versus another party's constitutional rights. All the constitutional rights are on one side of the ledger, specifically being that of Donald J. Trump, because it's his First Amendment rights and it's his right to have a fair trial. Now, this gets us to focus on, okay, what is this right to a fair trial? Because the D.C. Circuit Court tried addressing this, and they tried saying that the court has an interest in the fair administration of justice, and that there is such a thing. And they brought various cases which cite to that concept conceptually. In no circumstance were those actually being used to Trump a guy's two constitutional rights. It's his right to a fair trial because he's saying I'm not getting a fair trial, and his right to his First Amendment. To First Amendment. The D.C. Circuit Court, respectfully to that court, and in general, I'm respectful of most judges. The logic that they employed there was so convoluted, so backwards, so offensive to everything that was actually intended in those decisions by cherry picking this line here, cherry picking this line here, and it's basically like cherry picking a line from God Bless America and the Star Spangled Banner and say this. I can use this line over here where it says the rocket's red glare. You see, it's a red glare. We're all excited about red glare over here, and then you take from the Purple Mountain's Majesty, and then you see Red Glare, Purple's Mountain Majesty. Those two songs are basically telling you, go Russia, go Russia, go Russia. That's how convoluted their logic was. They take a line from here, a line from there, and they basically weave these things together in order to make it the exact opposite of what the actual intent of the author is. So that's what they did with these different decisions here, and that's what Judge Merchan employed. And when I saw this, I said, this is gross. This is disgusting. In order to have a balancing test, you must have competing constitutional rights, and those competing constitutional rights have to be on opposite sides of the ledger. It's got to be on one side of the ledger, you got a defendant. On the other side of the ledger, you have the press or someone else who wants to express their First Amendment rights. And now we sort of need to measure and balance this out. And that's the only time you can do it. Now, the Supreme Court never expressed that, but it's that interpretation of those cases is consistent with every single Supreme Court decision. You cannot find a single SCOTUS case that does not employ that the logic underpinning and that particular decision in any way refutes this perspective. It is the only sane way to actually understand all these different decisions, which are a little bit complicated, to understand them and read them together in concert, that they're actually consistent and consonant with each other and supporting each other, rather than perhaps being a little bit hodgepodge, which is how you're supposed to read cases, in ways that they are designed to actually be supportive of each other rather than be conflicting with each other. So that was the theory that I personally came up with as to how this balancing test works, which has never been artfully expressed by the Supreme Court. And I was like, you know what? This case from the D.C. Circuit Court is so terrible because we see it's going to be used over and over and over and over and over again. It's going to happen to you or someone you love within the next 10 years, not 20, 30, 40 years. It's going to happen to someone that you know that they too are gagged. And the logic is going to be, look what the D.C. Circuit Court did in Trump, or look what Judge Merchan did in Trump. because that's what they do. They feed off of each other because this is sort of a new kind of area of, are we allowed to gag criminal defendants? And I said, this is a terrible direction for America to go in. I don't want this to happen. I personally sued Judge Merchan under my own name individually and under the name of my corporation, Good Lawgic LLC. The name of the case, Good Lawgic LLC versus Judge Merchan. That was one of the arguments I made. The other argument I made is, even if you could have a balancing test here, you need to have an evidentiary hearing, because if you don't have an evidentiary hearing to establish, hey, do we have a causal link? Can we establish that, in fact, the words that Trump is saying, the tweets that he's saying, the offensive stuff that he's saying, can we actually establish that that is the cause of the negative harm? The negative harm being that there were purportedly threats to Alvin Bragg, or terrible or harassing phone calls, or whatever it is. That can you actually establish that? You cannot. How did the court try to establish it? How did they try to establish it? They said, well, we have an affidavit here from Alvin Bragg saying there's a lot more complaints now. There's a lot more harassing conduct. I'm like, how is that? How do you know that there's a causal link here rather than a correlative link? How do you know he's causing it rather than just being he's tweeting and people happen to be talking? People are talking about Alvin Bragg. People are angry at Alvin Bragg. Maybe it's not because anything that he wrote. Maybe they never heard of Truth Social. Maybe they don't see anything that he wrote. They just think to themselves, oh my God, MSNBC just reported that Alvin Bragg is going after Donald Trump. I can't believe that jerk Alvin Bragg is doing this. And they start making harassing phone calls, and they're not being motivated by Trump's actual exhibition of free speech. So how are you fixing anything? We don't know that. And until you know that by having an evidentiary hearing to see, is there a causal link that it's not just happening around, there's an increase now at the same time that he's tweeting, but that's his actual statements are actually causing negative harm. Until you establish that through an evidentiary hearing, closely examining the evidence that we have, you cannot know that A, there is a problem here, that there is any sort of extensive need, a compelling need, as the court refers to in these First Amendment cases, or that your remedy is as narrowly tailored as possible. And that's what it has to be if it's going to comport with the First Amendment. It's strict scrutiny. You have to have a compelling need, that it's really, really urgent. And then when we have this really urgent problem, you have to take the most minimal steps possible in order to ameliorate that compelling need. And if without an evidentiary hearing, how the hell can anyone know that he's the one who caused it, rather than being some article in the New York Times or some statement from Tucker Carlson or from Joe Rogan or anyone else? We don't know that. Nobody knows that. Nobody has any idea. We don't know the content of any of these threats. We don't know anything. All we know is that Alvin Bragg says, oh, my feels have been hurt by a lot of people recently. It doesn't make any sense. So these are the two major issues that I brought up here. And I was like, this cannot be allowed to stand. We cannot allow this DC Circuit case to continue. If we allow this to continue, this will be harming me. This will be harming you. This will be harming your loved ones. This will change the direction as to how cases are handled. Criminal defendants will be charged, and they're going to be restricted from speaking about anything if they have any kind of platform, because you have your own platform. You might have 14 people who follow you on Twitter, but that means you have 14 followers that you can influence, and they potentially could be dangerous. What is the yardstick for exactly when someone becomes a danger? Anyone who has a big following, we're going to say we need to gag P. Diddy because he has a large following and he's criminally charged. We're going to say it's okay to gag him. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense at all. It makes no sense, and they will use this over and over again, particularly against their political enemies. The reason I want to bring this case, because you say, why didn't Donald Trump bring this up? He did not bring up these arguments that I'm raising to you. And these are the core main arguments to make. These are the strongest arguments to make. Instead, what did he say? He said, well, you can't limit me. You can't limit me because it's free speech. It's political speech, and political speech is protected. Ridiculous, terrible argument, lousy argument, awful argument. Respectfully, I understand why he made those arguments. I'm not blaming his lawyers. His lawyers probably doing what he wanted, argue along the lines that he's saying, basically saying this is political speech, because he's pushing there politically this whole point that this is a political agenda against him and this is all lawfare. So I understand why he made those arguments, but that's not really the main strongest arguments that are most likely to succeed, nor than the most important arguments, because those arguments only affect Donald Trump individually. What about when these cases are used against you, me, and your cousin? So that's not the issue here. It's not because it's political speech. And even if it is political speech, there's no actual measurable yardstick for how much more protection there is for political speech rather than other types of speech. which is why it's a weak argument. It's not a strong argument. A far stronger argument is you completely bastardize those Supreme Court cases. They don't say what the court said, the claim that they're saying. They don't support the notion. They stand for exactly the opposite notion. Every one of them is saying that the yardstick for issuing a gag order is excessively high. They don't cite that in these cases. That there's a presumption that they are unconstitutional. That's what these cases literally say. They literally say the words. It's a presumption that these types of orders are unconstitutional. They ignore that. They throw that out the window. They don't talk about that at all. But that's exactly what his lawyers need to be pounding on. That, hey, this balancing test they're employing here, they're employing it in a way no one's ever used it before. It was never intended to be used. It doesn't make any sense to use it that way. That we have to recognize that the core foundational freedom, your First Amendment rights, there are no rights on earth that you have that are nearly as cemented as your First Amendment rights, and they are being tossed down the garbage so that my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, as well as your offspring, none of them are going to recognize the First Amendment to mean anything like what we grew up knowing it to mean, because it's being taken away from us by court order, and this becomes precedent. So that's why I filed this. I was like, no, we need the right arguments coming in front of the courts. And I said when I filed this, I said, I don't, in the way the procedurally it works, I know I'm over time here, and I apologize for that, but I'm getting riled up here. Procedurally, the way it works is I went straight to the appellate division, of the First Department appellate division in New York, because I'm admitted in New York, and that's the process here. Is I brought an Article 78 procedure, and I tried rushing it through, and they slow walked me until finally they said, get out of here. You're done. We're denying you. So what did I do then? And along the way, I brought on this other very intelligent attorney named Ron Baruti, who's been exceedingly helpful. I hired him to represent my corporate interests in this, meaning he's representative, and the party he's representing is Good Lawgic LLC. I stayed on as counsel for myself, pro se. And so we're both now co-counsel. This way we have two different minds working on the same thing and submitting and have the right to submit different papers and different arguments when we want to, so that he could hit on this type of argument, I could hit on that type of argument when we're so inclined. It's become a very helpful thing in this whole process. Well, we ended up coming before the Court of Appeals. We ended up getting denied by the First Department. And then when we applied to the Court of Appeals this week, the Court of Appeals said, no, we're not taking your case. They have the option. They can decide to take it. They don't decide to take it. Personally, I think that legally they had to take it, because I think we fit in under the regulation, under the rule that allows for mandatory it allows you to get into the Court of Appeals as of right. Court of Appeals disagree with me, whatever it is. When I started this case, this is what I said. I said, if I win at the appellate division, that's a win for the city of New York. If I lose at the First Department appellate division and I win in the Court of Appeals, that's a win for the state of New York. And if I lose at the Court of Appeals and I win in the Supreme Court, that's a win for the entire country. And ultimately, what I've always wanted from this whole thing here is I want to get into the Supreme Court. I want the Supreme Court to come out very clearly, very precisely, that balancing test that they reference in those cases from the 60s and 70s, that those cases stand for the notion that you cannot ever gag someone because you're afraid that you have to protect the fair administration of justice. And I want to be very clear here, because a fair question that's been asked along the way that you might be thinking about, some of you might be thinking about, and some of you might be putting in the comments here. You know, you might be sitting there, right in the comments. You're like, Joe, what about if you have someone who's a mafia guy and he's ordering a hit there? That's something where we want him gagged. And in that case, I agree with you. That is someone we want them gagged. But there's a difference there, because the type of speech we're trying to prevent there is a communication between a mob boss and some underling saying, hey, there's a witness who's going to be at this hotel, and I want you to take him out. That speech itself is already illegal. It's a conspiracy by the murderer, by the mob boss with his underling to commit murder. The nature of the speech that we're trying to stop him from engaging in is speech that is already deemed illegal. And we're worried he's going to slip past us. He'll make some sort of offhanded comment, or he'll say in a pre-established code between him and his gang, basically encouraging them to go take out a particular witness or some other individual associated with prosecuting the case. So in that circumstance, you tell me you want to silence that person there and gag them to make sure that someone's not going to get killed. 100%. There's no claim here that there's some sort of cahoots between Trump and these people who are threatening Alvin Bragg. No one's saying that Trump actually knows any of these people who are trying to harm them, and that he's got some sort of, they love to use the term dog whistle, but there's some sort of prearranged thing that he's like, when I say this means that you start sending, God forbid, I don't know, anthrax to Alvin Bragg, which no one should do. No one should. I think threatening people is gross. I think all his conduct is gross. I think anyone who engaged in it, assuming that it actually happened, which I don't know that it didn't, but anyone who engaged in that type of conduct, you're a lunatic, you're a sicko, you need psychological help. I'm not trying, obviously, to encourage anyone to do that. But the point is that to tie in that Donald Trump had any sort of relationship to this is ridiculous, especially because we haven't had an evidentiary hearing to establish that there's a causal link, that he's the one who did it. So because of all these reasons, I am now going to Supreme Court. Well, some of you were saying, Joe, I already knew all this. You told me this already a long time ago. We all knew about this a long time ago. We knew about this. What's happening now? What's happening now? Well, okay, here's what's happening now. The attorney that we plan on hiring, because at this stage, in order to get into the Supreme Court, you have to apply for what's called a writ of certiorari. You need to get approved. Supreme Court can take whatever case it wants. A lot of cases come, a lot of cases try to get in. Very few succeed. One of the reasons that I think that we can be optimistic that we will succeed with this case is this is the sort of case the Supreme Court likes taking. I don't think they like taking cases with Donald Trump. I think they do that reluctantly. But this is not even really about Donald Trump. In a certain way, I think this might actually be more helpful if, in fact, the case against Donald Trump sort of wraps up. Allow me to explain. I think that they don't want to feel as if they're weighing in on the election. They don't want to be the deciders of the election. They don't want anything of that nature. So this is the Supreme Court, given historically how they treated with Donald Trump, like Texas versus Pennsylvania, where they basically said, we're not touching this case, even though that shocked a lot of people, yours truly included. But the Supreme Court, I don't think this sort of understanding, interpretation of Supreme Court precedent, which has now been completely co-opted by the D.C. Circuit Court decision in U.S. v. Trump. Setting the record straight on stuff like that is exactly the sort of thing the Supreme Court likes, and they really like First Amendment issues. They like helping clarify this sort of thing. It's right in their wheelhouse. I was warned that Judge Sotomayor, who oversees emergency applications in the state of New York, that she's going to look at this and hold her nose at the idea of it being, Donald Trump, and I'm basically trying to fight for Donald Trump. This is not fighting for Donald Trump. This is not a fight for Donald Trump. He's the one who's gagged. But, like he's said many times, they're coming after you. I'm just standing in their way. And that's exactly what this scenario is. I don't know if that's always true. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But in this case, he's the test. He's the guinea pig to see if this works legally. If Justice Department and courts can get away with this legally. He's the guinea pig. The question is whether the Supreme Court's going to be okay with it. So in order for us to get in there, so first and foremost, we need to get an emergency. In order for us to get in there timely, we need to make an emergency application. That emergency application has to be filed very, very quickly. Unfortunately, we don't really have a great attorney for drafting an emergency application for writ of certiorari. The attorney who we plan on using is on vacation for the next couple of weeks. So the timing of this doesn't work very well. Ron Baruti is now working furiously to try to, he was been pushed into different formatting and things like that he's been getting as far as to give guidance where he and I may actually end up being the ones to draft this thing. The application for emergency writ, which would go before Justice Sotomayor. You might say, oh my God, we're dead. Justice Sotomayor, she's never going to take this case. And you might be right. I don't know. The reason that we might have a shot with getting this in on an emergency basis for Justice Sotomayor is because supposedly she's a bit of the First Amendment issues are kind of historically a big deal to Justice Sotomayor, particularly. They're kind of a big deal to her. So that is why we hopefully will get approved by Sotomayor. If we don't get that approval on an emergency basis, we still can bring the application. As far as I understand it, we still can bring that application for a standardized type of writ. That would be an appearance in the Supreme Court a year from now. Frankly, I care much less about him being able to say various statements about Judge Merchan's daughter before the election, which I don't think is going to have much of an impact on the election altogether. At some rally, that he basically is allowed to talk about that, or he's not allowed to talk about that. I don't think it's going to have any impact on the election at all. I have a difficult time believing that there's going to be some person who's like, "Wow, he only did it because his daughter," and I didn't know that until Donald Trump just said this at the election at some rally. It's not. It just doesn't seem to add up to me. So I don't think it's having any impact on that. And we can get in even after this becomes moot in theory, because this is a situation where if you have a type of wrong that is capable of repetition and escaping review, meaning that this can happen again, and it's by the time it gets before the Supreme Court, it'll be dead again. That's the sort of thing that's an exception to an issue of mootness. I'm saying let's assume that we get before the Supreme Court thinks this is interesting, but by the time they get to it, this case is the gag order is removed, and this whole thing is gone away. It's past the election or whatever. So we're trying to get in there before the election. I don't know whether that's going to work or not. In order to get in there before the election, it seems as if Ron Brewer and I are going to have to put together the papers ourselves. If that fails, because Justice Sotomayor doesn't have enough interest in it, which is very possible. In that case, we'll be looking to go through a more standardized route. But I am hopeful that ultimately we will get before the Supreme Court on this. And I will have these claims heard. Good Lawgic versus Merchan will help right the wrong that is being embedded into American jurisprudence. If you're interested in supporting, there are links down below. givesandgo.com/Ungag Trump. You could read some of my papers. I've spent some nights here clacking away with people watching me while I'm actually been drafting these papers. Some of these papers, and that's the update. We're now basically it's up to Ron and me to try and get this emergency writ, and if not, we'll probably have someone else put together papers to have a more standardized type of application, so we can't get in on an emergency basis. That's the story. But our deadlines are pretty short. We were warned that based on when the Supreme Court comes back into session, that we need to get this in within the next, I don't know, less than a week. So that's your update. I think I covered everything. Any questions? Let me check out here. I don't know who needs to hear this, but everything will be okay. Breathe. I know it's going to be okay. It's a matter of I want it done right. You know what I'm saying? I want everything done right. When I do a show, it's very important to me that the quality of my show is something that I'm proud of. Which most days I feel that way. No, the overwhelming majority of days, every once in a while, I feel like I don't like the way that show went. And sometimes I'll say that about shows that people seem to really enjoy. I'm just I don't like the way it went. And other times it'll be shows that I'm just this doesn't feel like a show that I want to rewatch. And then I know that it's a show I don't like. Most shows that I do, I'll be like, I could rewatch myself doing that. So, yeah. Never let a show stress you. Message me on X. Remember, okay. We have a Digger meetup on election night. Digger meetup. I plan on streaming election night. I'm probably gonna be doing I don't know. I might do a day-long stream on election. If not a day-long stream. I'll probably be going from 6 in the evening until 3 in the morning. I expect it to be a long stream on election night. So you guys can meet up. Fastest Joe rant ever. Yeah. And I haven't gone through the details of the entire thing in a while. And I figured for those of you who came on board in the last month or two, you probably know very little about what my Ungag Trump application is. So, what the arguments were, or why I'm making these arguments, and why Trump, it's not in Trump's arguments. So, Jadine, I didn't. You didn't hear the little horn I gave you. This is what we get a momentary glimpse of what I have queued up here. He says, "You are my." Jadine says, "You're my favorite Judin." These political a-holes have no core beliefs. F them forever. Yeah. Go, Joe, go. Are you using a different vape? On this topic, I can talk really fast. I think it was a lot more than the 5 minutes I promised. But so when did you put insert? How late can you send? Emergency application, from what I understand, we have to have in by early next week. Pull on her heartstrings. Let her prior rulings, especially dissents on 1A. I'm going to sit here going through that. One of the things I got to be doing is I have to go through my streams and basically take a lot of streams down. I got to take a lot of streams down. I don't know. People don't see the slippery slope. Imagine a court that uses a gag on indicted co-conspirators. Someone and pros know they could have charged in case. Yikes. Yep, it's very much a slippery slope. That's exactly what we're fighting on. I'm digging my heels in. Barnes like her for 1A. Maybe he has some input. Yeah. I listen. Barnes is the one who motivated me to start. He jump-started me on this whole thing. And he's been somewhat reachable on this topic. I've been frustrated by the fact that along the way, as I'm sure you've seen, Allegan, I've been frustrated that a lot of these big-name right-wing content creators, attorneys, they basically, when I was begging them for help, for publicity. Very frustrated. If you and Ron are doing it, please contact Barnes for advice and input. Yeah. I shared with him my initial filings before I filed them to get his thoughts. The truth is, Robert Gouveia was more directly helpful. He was great. Robert Gouveia is everything you think you know about Robert Gouveia, like what a good guy he is. He's actually a much better guy than that. He really is. It's like not normal. He spent well over an hour of his own time editing my work for me when I was flying solo and encouraging me and stuff like that. So he's the only lawyer who looked over my work and actually made edits. So I'm hoping to get him on here on Sunday when I have my 100,000. Thank you, 100K. Remember, large part to support Ungag Trump. Oh, that's very thoughtful. Thank you, Kobe. All right. Spent a lot longer on that than I intended to spend. This other story that I'm going to cover here is relatively short, and that is Eric Adams. Oh, I meant to share this. Maybe I'll share this later. I don't even know where I have my link for this. Eric Adams, supposedly, rumor has it, New York Times reporting, so that's as much of a rumor as you can make something and still be a rumor, says that Eric Adams has been indicted. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted for corruption. Charges have not been made public yet. They're expected to be made public tomorrow. And this is the first time that a city mayor... Well, this just got updated 5 minutes ago. Let's see what we got here. It was updated 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago. Eric Adams is indicted in New York. The indictment makes Mr. Adams the first sitting New York City mayor to face criminal charges. The mayor vowed to fight the charges. Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted on federal criminal charges. We can get a copy of the charges. I don't know why when I click that link, I get back to the same thing. According to people with knowledge and matter, and will be the first mayor in modern New York City history to be charged while in office. The indictment is sealed. It was unclear what charges Adams, the Democrat, will face, or when he will surrender to the authorities. Rumor has it that's supposed to happen next week. Federal prosecutors were expected to announce the details of the indictment on Thursday. Chiasi, a Brooklyn councilman, called for Adams to resign in a video posted online around 11 p.m. Wednesday night. AOC had also called for him to resign. I was thinking about covering this. He yelled back at AOC saying, like, you know, the utter hypocrisy of you, AOC, that you completely ignore that even a charged man is deemed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and I haven't even been charged. Well, now he has been. Following the federal searches and series of resignations in recent weeks, no one's running our city right now, he said. The city of 9 million people needs someone steering the ship, and now it's clear that it cannot be corrupt cop Eric Adams.
Eric Adams needs to resign as mayor of New York City. I'm literally recording this video in the middle of the night because Adams was just indicted.
He is inside the New York City subway station with its distinctive white brick
On several dozen federal counts. This was
shiny white brick.
after the feds just raided half his top aides, and many more resigned. This started with a corruption probe into his campaign. But now half the
Not brick, tile, sorry.
city's leadership is out of commission. I'm not going to lie, they look guilty. But more importantly, no one is running our city right now.
I'm not going to lie, they look guilty. This is real. This is real. This is how you get to idiocracy.
Now, our schools, healthcare, police, and more have no leadership. This city of 9 million people needs someone steering the ship. And now it's clear it cannot be corrupt cop Eric Adams.
And that may be true. So chances feel very high, very high. Give you a heads up now that if you follow me on Locals, which is goodlogic.locals.com, goodlogic.locals.com, chances are very high, very, very high that you will see an announcement from me tomorrow that I will be on an X space somewhere talking about these charges tomorrow, late tomorrow morning, early tomorrow afternoon. So chances feel like they're really, really high. So this is a really good time to sign up at goodlogic.locals.com. It's free to sign up. All those notifications, like my appearance on that X space that I think is exceedingly high. It'll probably be either with George Santos, it might be with Mario Nawfal. Depends on my mood. Depends on who invites me first. But I expect to basically be breaking down, do my initial breakdown of those charges tomorrow. So if you head over to goodlogic.locals.com. I am curious. I'm going to put a little poll up here. Do you guys like when I go on these spaces, when I live stream at the same time? And the reason I'm asking this is because I was thinking about doing that as like a Locals thing, where I would sort of open up Locals and you can actually hear me making comments about people. Because when you have a panel of people, you can't just be talking all the time. So I'll be talking for like 3 minutes. I might have a back and forth with someone that's going on for like 15, 20 minutes. And then I have like 40 minutes of downtime where it's like I might make, a couple of line sentence here, but, there's 12 people there. I can talk more when I'm a co-host with George Santos. Definitely. That's definitely something that I have more of an opportunity to talk there because he invites me to jump in and make any comments or questions as I want when I'm a co-host there. So, which is nice. On the flip side, I have a bigger audience when I go on Mario's because Santos will have 1,000, 1,500 people, and Mario will have 5 times that at least. So. And I'm more likely to get politicians when I'm on with Mario, like to be able to engage with, congressmen or congresswomen and stuff like that. So, And I'm not going to kid you. It is kind of cool. That's pretty cool to be able to, like, you know, have like a back and forth with a Chip Roy. That's pretty cool. So, anyway, I don't know. So I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know what time I'm going to be there, and I certainly don't even have the link yet myself, much less can let you know where I'm going to be. But I urge you to follow me on Locals, and I will be aggravating over that decision tomorrow, which I'm fully expecting is going to happen once these charges become unsealed, which is supposed to happen tomorrow morning. All right, a lot to cover here with this Kamala Harris interview. I was torn about how best to cover it with you. I was torn about how to do this. Adrian says, have you been overly partaking in the caffeine with my squirrels? You need to take a few more breaths and just trying to see how fast I can tell that whole story over. Is this going to involve you talking on the phone at 11 p.m. to a guy? Oh my God, that was crazy. That was crazy. What's really sad about that is I'm sure it's not the first time that that's happened. It's just that it's the first time that it's happened while I was in front of like 2,000 or 3,000 people. But what Aaron is referencing here is when I was doing my lawyer mukbang and drafting my initial papers, and I was feeling very stressed to get them printed and get done on time. So I was clacking away and basically just silently working here with 2,000 to 3,000 people watching me. And when I was doing that, there was a point in time which I was like, I don't even know how much it's going to cost me to do this, or where I'm going to get this done, or what's going to happen with this whole thing. And I'm supposed to get this done tomorrow morning because I gave notice about this whole thing. And I ended up calling a Kinko's from my, and talking and haggling with a guy from not Kinko's, like different print shops, trying to get this special order done for me in a way that would be presentable for the appellate department, the appellate division. Kamala interview in woodshop, yet no talk about trade jobs. Typical D using work people for votes. I was thinking the same thing when I saw the backdrop there. Yeah, stream space at the same time so we can chat. Well, you don't. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about doing. I was thinking about. I'm actually glad you reminded me that. I want to make a poll about that. I'm going to do that poll right now. Should I host a Locals stream while it gives me an opportunity to sort of rank on some of the people listening to. Well, like this, you're so stupid. You get to hear like what I'm thinking when I'm like, I can't say this out loud, or I don't have an opportunity to jump in because two people are going at it and it would just be chaos. So, here's my little poll for you. All right. Let's get started here. I have a lot. There's a few things I want to share with you here. This I thought was interesting. Before we even get to this, another thing that happened yesterday was that Biden went on The View. And basically, I guess this is, a pre-screening as to whether he'd be a good fit for their little nursing home round circles. But, this was a moment where he's talking about being asked to step out of the race.
I never fully believed the assertions that somehow there was this overwhelming reluctance of my running again. I didn't sense that. And although the polling, as I said, Biden's polling was different, the fact of the matter is my polling was about, we're always within range of.
Meaning, I'm not supposed to be winning, but somehow winning.
Beating this guy.
Yeah.
And, what I did was, I think there were, it makes sense. There were some folks who would like to see me step aside so they have a chance to move on.
I'm being deposed.
I get that. That's just human nature. But that wasn't the reason that I stepped down.
No, the reason I stepped down is because they told me they were going to have me removed. That's the reason I stepped down. That's the reason I stepped down. They told me they were going to 25th Amendment me. Look at me, for crying out loud. I'm looking like the crypt keeper. No, this was
more New York officials calling on Mayor Eric Adams to resign.
This was the clip I was going to share with you that I was like, I don't know where that went. But there's really nothing added in that, so I'm not going to waste your time with 4 minutes on that. All right. Let's do the interview. Let's do it. I've not seen this yet. I've seen little snippets here and there. I've not seen it. But before we even get started, let's just take note of the location choice here. Like, we're supposed to believe that this politician and this, news contributor from MSNBC couldn't find anywhere else that was more appropriate for them to sit than in what looks like some dude's garage. The message is supposed to be, I assume, that this is about, like, she's here to get jobs. Like, this is serious. This is about, white dudes or something. I don't know. That's what it's supposed to be. That's, this is appealing to blue collar America, that they can relate, they feel comfortable in a garage. It's kind of like that it's kind of like that whole tone of that ad that I was making fun of the other day, which was just ridiculous. Where was that thing? I had to restart my computer like a half hour before I started, and everything. I lost a whole bunch of links. This was it here. We watched this yesterday. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but
This is the Jim Heath channel playlist of 2024 campaign ads.
Hey, white dudes. So I think we're all pretty sick of how much we suck. Every time you go online, it's the same story. We're the problem. And yeah, some white dudes are. Trump and all his MAGA buddies are out there making it worse, shouting nonsense in their stupid red hats. And
and their stupid red hats. I don't even believe the speaker. I don't even believe the AI voice that they had here using for Dennis Leary. I don't even believe that the speaker here actually believes anything that is being said.
acting like they speak for us when they don't. All they've ever done is screw us over. But if you're not on the MAGA train, where do you go? Isn't it just swapping out one crappy option?
All right, whatever. So I was watching this on a different channel, on a different time. I think it was actually called White Dudes for Harris. And I was looking at some of the comments with you guys the other day. But this is they're trying to get the white dudes. That's what the background is here. We didn't get to see, because I didn't have the extension added. Someone suggested I add the extension for how many dislikes something has. And then I found this article, which I can't really dig up right now, from MSNBC, saying how this is such a great ad. Oh, it's appealing. Exactly. It's right the sweet spot, like just perfect where it needs to be for really, really landing with white male voters. Look at the numbers here. Before I show you, I'm going to add. I'm going to ask you. It says 19,000 views on this channel. I'm going to do a quick poll here. I have to do a poll because you won't. All right, I'm getting a yes from this. So I'll try to do that tomorrow on locals. All right. So I'm going to ask you to vote. I'm going to tell you right now. I have the likes and dislikes. Okay. So, like to dislike ratio for this ad. Will have it be 1-to-1. No one's gonna say 1-to-1. 1-to-2. 1-to-5. 1-to-10. Or 1. I guess we're going to something crazy like 1-to-20. That is. All I do is I'm going to check over on Rumble. What do you guys think? 1-to-2, meaning twice as many dislikes? 1-to-5, 5 times as many dislikes? 1-to-10, 10 times as many dislikes? Or 1-to-20? Which do you think is closest? And I'll tell you, let me check out. I want to see what Rumble says. 2, 5, 10, or 20. 2, 5, 10, or 20. Tell me. Answer me. Answer me. Breck Nichols says, Joe, you can ask me anything, just don't ask me. That was terrible. Wasn't that just a painful listening to that guy testify? Oh my God. I need to apologize to you, Breck Nichols. I need to apologize to you that I missed your rants the other night. I actually didn't completely miss them. I just didn't pull them up timely. So I'm going to actually pull them up right now. That's right. We're pulling them up right now. I saved them. Now I just got to see what I saved them as. I was looking for when I would see you next. I was like, let me. Did I save them as Breck? Nope. Same as Nichols. There were two of them. There we go. Breck Nichols. I was talking about different. I don't remember where I was talking about different countries, but I definitely say you're gay. I don't think I said it. I know you were 1-1. That's pretty good. And he also had, you see this where I had saved here, Nichols for 2 and Nichols for 10. Joe, ain't true to the rumor that Pedro attack was called Operation Balls to the That was really funny. That's pretty funny. Pedro attack was brilliant. It was friggin' brilliant. It was really brilliant. How can you have a more targeted attack than basically saying only a freaking terrorist carries a pager? Nobody. It's not like doctors are carrying pagers anymore. Such a brilliant attack. All right. So I want to see where you guys were at on that. Let me see where you guys were at on your thing here. So you guys. Numbers I'm seeing here: 2, 2, 20, 10 times. Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you right now, 137 likes. 137 likes. Let me see where the polling's at over here. 53% you say 1 to 20. 31% saying 1 to 10. And 12 for 1 to 5 and 5% for 1 to 2. Here we go. I'm not gonna. You'll see for yourself. Look at this. This is just hilarious. Check this out. $137 likes, 2,500 dislikes. That's, I mean, look, 20 would actually be like 2.74. That's a lot closer than 1370, right? So yeah, practically 1 to 20 dislikes for every like. Wow, what a walking disaster. Democrat Party understands nothing about anybody. They literally understand nothing about anybody. It's a miracle they ever win anything. They must be stealing so much. It's a miracle they ever win anything. It really shows you. I want you to know something. You can sort of take heart and say, look at what a wonderful heart God gave us. What an amazing heart God gave us. There's so many Democratic voters who it's like they actually like try to care. And they have a heart that's like, I guess, 20 times the size of their brain based on a 1 to 20 ratio. It's like they think they're doing good. They think they're being helpful. I guess it's a positive statement about the human condition to some degree, that there's an objective of feeling like you're a nice person. It's a really powerful thing. All right, let's get into it, because I've screwed around enough here.
Most people's.
Sorry, that was when I was watching this before. When I make a thumbnail, best way to make a thumbnail of like a live action thing is if you catch a moment that you like, slow it down to quarter speed, and then just let it play. Because otherwise, if you don't do it that way, you tend to get a back. What's going on here? Okay, let's make this much smaller. So that's why sometimes I'll have it either. I'm always at a quarter speed or double speed. In fact, that's just force a habit.
For those who say these policies aren't, Madam Vice President, you just laid out your economic vision for the future. Yeah. But still there.
This she did? When did that happen? When did that happen? Wait. What's her economic vision? Is that no tax on tips? $25,000 for first-time home buyers, which I want to be clear with you, by the way. I want to be clear because I gave her too much credit. I was like, how are you going to come up with the money for that? She's not giving $25,000. I was like, if you do this, you're only going to be raising the price of the cost of a house by $25,000. She's not giving $25K. She's not doing that. She's giving a tax credit on $25K. They still have to come up with the money. Useless woman. What a useless. It's not doing anything. Tax credit.
There are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
I think that this question is designed to elicit the very point that I was making, which was like $25,000 first-time homeowners. If you're not a first-time homeowner, you're not planning on buying a house in the next 4 years, F you, I got nothing for you. $6,000 tax credit for babies, or tax rebate for if you have a baby. If you're not in the baby making industry, F you, I got nothing for you. That's basically, I was like, how is this helping most Americans? Because none of it is designed to actually fix the economy, make the disaster cluster fart that she made any better at all. No. It's for these different select groups and these different, you're starting a business, I'll give you a $50,000 tax credit. What? A tax credit? I'm not giving you money. You're not getting money. No. I'll give you a tax credit. Most small businesses aren't paying anything in taxes because they're working in the red. It's not doing anything. It's not building any businesses. It's not doing anything. Most small businesses are working the first year, 2 years, 3 years in the red. That's what it is when you're building a business. Unbelievable. Tax credits. Opportunity. It's an opportunity. Useless. Anyway, so Stephanie Rule here. We shouldn't forget that Stephanie Rule is the one who basically said, and if you don't like her policies, what, you're going to vote for Trump? She doesn't have to lay out her policies. She said that 2 days ago on Bill Maher. Here she is now throwing this question out. So what do you say to people? And I promise you that this entire interview, every question she asked, that Kamala knew she was going to be asked these questions. They gave her a complete list. Here are the questions that I'm going to be asking you. I can guarantee you that I would be shocked if we somehow learned that wasn't. And if we did, I would say they're lying. I am positive that she had all the questions beforehand. Because Stephanie Rule has gone on record as saying, we don't care what her policy is. We need to keep Trump out of office. So why would she not give over the questions and make this designed to help her look competent? Would you not want her to look competent if your objective is to get her elected? So we have to know the nature of the beast, and the beast, we're talking about MSNBC and in the broad sense, and Stephanie Rule on the micro sense that she herself. I'll try and find that clip. I shared that clip here, I'm pretty sure, the other day, but I'm not sure what I did with that thing. But that she herself said, "Well, you're not going to vote for her. What's going to happen if you don't like her policy? If you don't like her policy on Gaza, what are you going to do then? You're going to vote for Trump?"
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dream.
This is like her expected answer. If I'm not part of this whole thing, your group, how are you helping me?
And the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do. You're in my plan. I have to tell you, I really love.
This is disaster. This is a disaster. This is an utter walking. She's 30 seconds in. 30 seconds in, and this is a disaster. Oh my God. I think that I'm for you. How? What are you? What? If you're a dreamer, if you want to see a healthy America, if you love America, this is terrible. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is terrible. I didn't see this answer. This is awful. And she looks nervous saying it. Perhaps she realizes how stupid this sounds. If you believe in America, if you believe in joy and loving, I think I'm for you.
And I'm so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people.
What the hell are you talking about?
We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams.
She has dreams. She has dreams of being president.
We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic. But not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things.
If I was watching this and this was my candidate, I would be crying right now. I would be crying. She literally is not answering this question at all. She's just giving you classic, stupid, empty rhetoric. We have dreams. We have ambition. How stupid does someone have to be to think that this is a competent answer?
But we don't lack for those things.
Okay.
But not everyone, gets handed stuff on a silver platter. And
so those people who have succeeded was handed on a silver platter. Yeah. And that's why you're trying to take it away from us. Yeah, stream space. Joe, you're my Jewish hero. Cue the music. Here comes my hero. Oh, well, thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. I don't know the song, but I just for that super chat alone, I'd risk the copyright claim. Kamala can't. This is terrible. This is terrible. I don't think anybody's got those chairs either. Those little cushion chairs. We are not a cult. That said, we don't like the sugar-free Kool-Aid. Can we switch to Tang for the celebration when our overlords on Mua return? What? I don't know what that is. But thank you, TG 1987. You couldn't even sit in a chair that's appropriate for a wood shop. Heaven forbid you have a chair without padding. Sit on a shop stool. Yeah. Wait, the mayor of New York got indicted? Yes, he did. We don't know what the charges are, but it's now deemed official, no longer just a rumor. Credit versus deduction. One is welfare. What one? I think that she said. I don't even know. I don't even know. Send you a link to your ex DMs. That'd be interesting. Your thoughts on sometimes if possible. Eric Weinstein on Kamala and her unburdened quotes. I don't know if I'm going to get to it tonight because I'm way behind already, but we'll see.
So my vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions, which
Marxist,
which include for middle-class families, just being able to know that their hard work allows them to get ahead, right?
How? Right? Because they should be able to get ahead. Because there should be fairness. Because they're hardworking. And that's what the American spirit is. Because it's about Americans believing in America. And I think that that's what America is. I think that people understand that that's what America is. That it's about trying to get ahead. And people are just struggling to try to get ahead. I understand that. I came from a middle-income family. I understand that. It's about just understanding fairness. That's what my economy will do for you. This is something MSNBC is like, oh, this was great. Great job. She did great. This was amazing. This is exposing that no matter how much time you give her to come up with something, she has nothing.
I think we can't and we shouldn't aspire to have an economy that just allows people to get by. People want to do more than just get by. They want to get ahead. And I come from the middle class. Look, my mother.
I didn't even know she's. There you go. There you go. There you go. What did I say?
Mother raised my sister and me. She worked hard. She saved.
Swallow hard. There. I told you, whenever she's lying, she swallows and bobbles her head. So the bobblehead is really more of a yes, like please believe me. Yes, please believe me.
Saved up. By the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. And, home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive,
It's your fault. It's all your fault.
Gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream. So
Stephanie, this is good answer. This is really good. This is really good stuff.
Part of my vision for the economy is let's deal with some of the everyday challenges that people face and address them with common sense solutions, such as affordable housing.
Over the last 4
Oh my God. She's so bad. She's so bad at this. Oh my God. They're so clueless. God forbid if someone like this were to win.
4 years, there have been tremendous economic wins. And you've just laid out
I'm not at all a shill. Everyone is really rich and happy and economically prosperous. There's been tremendous wins. Oh my God, it's landmark. Oh, this is great. Oh, just feel the wealth. Do you feel how wealthy you are? Oh my God, if wealth was like a sun, I'd be like, I need like SPF like 148. Oh my God, so much wealth. Oh, I have so much wealth. Oh my God, this is like Mount Rushmore. This is Mount Rushmore snow job.
Big plan, but still, polling shows that most likely voters still think Donald Trump is better to handle the economy. Why do you think that is?
Why? Why do they think that? It's crazy. Why would they think that? Just because the Democrats have been running the economy for 12 out of the last 16 years, and none of them qualify as being remotely as close to being as good as Donald Trump during his first 3 years. Zero. But why do Americans think about that? What do you think is why Americans think about that?
Well, here's what I know in terms of the facts. Donald Trump.
I can't answer your question why Americans think that, but let me bash Donald Trump for a bit now.
Left us with the worst economy since the Great Depression. When you look at, for example, the employment numbers.
Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, let's talk about like how things were when Democrats shut down the whole country because of COVID.
It was during COVID, and employment was so high because we shut down the government, we shut down the country.
Even before the pandemic, he lost manufacturing jobs by most people's estimates, at least 200,000. He lost manufacturing plants. Ask the auto workers.
Okay, I'm gonna let her finish. But I need to show you a quick video where she's talking about how things were bad before the pandemic.
How he lost auto plants. We have grown over 20 new auto plants. Mm-hmm. He has an agenda. Let's just deal with it right now going forward, not to mention what happened in the past.
Right. She seems to be going in a different direction. So I want to share with you something. This is a video I produced back before you heard of me. That goes for most of you. A few of you heard of me. Most of you hadn't heard of me. This is back when I was making videos. And this is before I was live streaming. But I made a video a while ago. She's talking about how bad things were. How bad they were. Let's take a look. I gotta dig this puppy up. It was a while ago. Let's see here. Come on. Started wrong in there. I think this is the right one.
I am thrilled.
This is Trump's State of the Union speech from January of 2020.
To report to you tonight that our economy is the best it
I labeled this, Why Does Nancy Hate America? Let's tell us, why does Nancy hate America?
has ever been. Our military is completely rebuilt, with its power being unmatched anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. Our borders are secure. Our families are flourishing. Our values are renewed. Our pride is restored. And for all of these reasons, I say to the people of our great country and to the members of Congress, the state of our union is stronger than ever before. Our agenda is relentlessly pro-worker, pro-family, pro-growth, and most of all, pro-American. The unemployment rate is the lowest in over half a century. The unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans has reached the lowest levels in history. African American youth unemployment has reached an all-time low. African American poverty has declined to the lowest rate ever recorded.
So anyway, I kept splicing in every time he was getting applause. I cut back to her ripping up his speech in anger and frustration. So yeah, you want to start telling us this goes on literally 10 minutes of him talking about how amazing America is doing in January 2020, and she's going to sit here telling us, "Oh no, things are terrible. Things are terrible under Trump. I don't know why they don't like it. I don't know why they like him. Why do they like him? I don't know."
He has an agenda that would include making it more difficult for workers to earn overtime, an agenda that would include cutting off access to small business loans for small businesses.
And by the way, Soltron is pointing out, I think Kamala will look older than Trump by election day. She is aging fast. Fast. I agree with you. It's a great call. I noticed that every time I'm trying to find like pictures of her for my thumbnail, she looks like she aged 10 years in the last month and a half.
An agenda that includes tariffs to the point that the average working person will spend 20% more on everyday necessities and an estimated $4,000 more a year on those everyday necessities.
Not true. Not true. Not true. Let's debunk that right away here. This is Goldman Sachs CEO, I think his name is David Solomon, referring to Kamala Harris at the debate, claiming about how his economy is so terrible. So terrible. Oh, so terrible. 4,000. So I told you I was gonna expose her lies. Let's start here.
That report, which was mentioned last night in the debate, came from an independent analyst. And it's interesting, Scott. I think a lot more has been made of this than should be. What the report did is it looked at a handful of policy issues that have been put out by both sides, and it tried to model their impact on GDP growth. And the reason I say a bigger deal has been made of it is what it showed is the difference between the sets of policies that they put forward was about 0.2%.
And the 0.2% happened to favor Trump. So, liar, liar, your pants are on fire.
You, sir, are a liar. Liar, your pants are on fire.
To the point that top economists in our country, from Nobel laureates to people at Moody's and Goldman Sachs.
Look at her smiling. Great answer. Good answer. It's like she thinks this is an interviewer giving you a hard cutting interview who's basically looks like she's like the silent contestant on, family member on from Family Feud. She's like, good answer. Here's the flaw. Here's the logical fallacy. First and foremost, it's an appeal to authority. That the logical fallacy is actually called appeal to authority, where you say, well, this is what experts say, so this means it's true, which is just a logical fallacy, because that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean your argument wins. It just means you're just quoting someone who could be equally wrong, so it's a logical fallacy. Secondly, you have to recognize that these economists, most of them are academics, right? I mean, that's how you become a professor of economics. These economic these economic experts, academicians, which are like, I don't know, 95% Democrat. So yeah, when they're prognosticating as to like how good something is, and they know they can't ever be fact checked on it. How could they be fact checked? Are we going to actually live two paradox universes where in one case we actually see Kamala's economy unfold versus seeing Trump's economy unfold? No. So you can't be fact checked. So they just say whatever the hell they want to say, knowing that you can't prove I'm wrong. I'm the expert. Stupid. And this here, like, you know, Judy Garland wannabe with her ruby red shoes is basically saying, good answer. I like it. Good answer.
I've compared my plan with his and said my plan would grow the economy, his would shrink the economy. Some of them have actually assessed that his plan would increase inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year.
We're in a recession now. Yeah.
So the facts remain.
The technical definition of recession is slow growth. Yeah.
That Donald Trump has a history of taking care of very rich.
The reason she's losing in all the polls and all the new polls that are coming out now are very bad for her is because they haven't labeled it a recession. I think they've actually changed the definition of recession recently. But yeah, it's not going well. It's not. That's why she's losing, because it's always about the economy. That's why she's losing.
People. And I'm not mad at anybody for being rich, but they should pay their fair share.
You're rich. Why don't you pay more? Why don't you pay more? Why don't you tell Stephanie to pay more? Pay your fair share. Why don't you pay more? Your husband's wealthy beyond belief. Why isn't he paying more in taxes? Why not? Pay his fair share. Why aren't you paying your freaking fair share?
But tax cuts for the billionaires and the top corporations in our country, and then not really paying much attention to middle-class families.
That's not at all what happened with his tax cut. They actually say like 2% of it ended up going to the wealthy. But okay.
My perspective on the economy is when you grow the middle class, America's economy is stronger. And there's empirical evidence to prove my point correct.
I don't know what it says. I've never read it, but that's what people tell me I should say.
Then let me ask you about taxes, because lots of people will say, I don't like Donald Trump, but he cut my taxes. He didn't just cut corporate taxes, he cut individual taxes. Now that expires next year, and there's some people confused saying, I don't know what's going to happen.
See, he cut individual taxes. So what the hell are you talking about?
Happen next year. Under a Harris administration, at what income level should someone expect their taxes to go up? And that state and local tax deduction that's currently capped and matters to a lot of people in blue states, you're going to lift that cap?
So first of all, when it relates to anybody making less than $400,000 a year, your taxes will not go up.
Liar, liar, your pants are on fire. That's just not true at all. How are you paying for all the stuff that you're planning on implementing? So you're just going to print more money? So when you print more money, that's the worst tax of all through inflation. This is why we have such inflation that we have now under you. That's the worst tax. That's a tax that doesn't go away.
Your taxes will not go up. And in fact, under my plan, taxes for 100 million Americans will actually be cut, including six.
If we look at inflation as a tax, Americans are paying much higher taxes under you, much higher taxes under you than they've ever paid before.
$6,000 a year for young couples for the first year of their child's life in a tax cut, a tax credit, essentially, by expansion of the child tax credit. And why is that? Because during the first year of a young couple, of a person's child's life, they're going to need help buying a crib, buying a car seat. And
just ignoring, you're the one ignoring everyone who's not having babies, basically. Ignoring everyone that's not having babies.
We all benefit when they're actually able to do what they naturally want to do to take care of their child.
And expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra.
We'll come back to her in a moment. They give her the question, she still gives awful answers. Yes, and yes. She's middle class, so she got knee pads. Yes. yes. Trump paused because I'll bet she blames him for mental, probably. Why is Wednesday Adams in? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. Why didn't I think of this as being the Wednesday Adams outfits? I don't know how I missed that. I don't know. These are good questions. I guess she feels like I have red hair. I can pull it off. How many young black men did you lock up for pot? These are good questions too. I wonder how much their outfits and jewelry cost. They're wealthy, ridiculously wealthy. Do you know how much Doug Emhoff is worth? Kamala's husband. What is his net worth? What is Doug Emhoff's net worth? I thought it was much higher than that. They're claiming his net worth in 2024 here. Yahoo, at least, is claiming, which is obviously a very reliable source of information. They're claiming that his net worth is $6 million. I thought it was like 10 times that. I don't believe that's true. Let me see if I can find a different. Celebrity net worth is saying he has a net worth of $8 million. Their assets and bank accounts are worth between 3.6 and 7.36. Value of their assets has roughly doubled since 2015. Surprise, surprise. Earned just under $2 million in 2018. I don't think she's paying her fair share.
Money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well,
part of the reason that housing is so expensive is because we got a lot more people to house now because we got 15 million people come across our border. You got to put them somewhere. You can't leave them out in the middle of a park. You can't just leave them in the street somewhere. So yeah, this is why this is very high demand for housing right now, much higher than we've ever had. Wonder why that is. You know how you can bring down housing prices? Deport. That's how you bring down housing prices. Deport. You never thought of that, did you? This isn't the one I wanted. That wasn't it. No. Is that it? No. I had a video here of her basically at a rally 4 years ago saying, don't deport, no deportation. Yeah. At least she does not seem drunk tonight. That's true. She doesn't seem drunk tonight. What do you think they're fooling with the background? These people don't work. Seriously. Because she knows so much about raising kids. She knows everything about raising kids. She knows everything about it. I think if she moves her front tooth, she'll be more relatable to the Congress. She should try it. She should consider it.
but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to raise. We're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share.
Listen to the question here, because let's go back here. I apologize for disrupting the flow here, because she's not answering the question.
Be able to do what they naturally want to do to take care of their child.
And expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control.
If you cannot raise corporate taxes, that's the question here. If you can't raise them, what's going to happen then?
Control of the Senate. Where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward?
Where's the money coming from? The answer, we have to raise taxes.
With those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and
what a
billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share. I am not mad at anyone for achieving success, but everyone should pay their fair share. And it is not right that the teachers and the firefighters that I meet every day across our country are paying a higher tax than the richest people in our country.
Bill Gates just said it this week. If he was in charge of taxes, he would have paid more. But how do you find that line to make sure?
She didn't answer your question. What does that mean we're going to have to? Well, then raise it now. Raise it right now. Why can't you raise it right now? You're the president now. Biden says he's delegating everything to you. Raise it right now. Why can't you? Oh. It's never going to pass. Oh, okay.
Corporations are paying their fair share, but they're not leaving our country.
Well, listen, I work with a lot of CEOs. I have spent a lot of time with CEOs, and I'm going to tell you that the business leaders who are actually part of the engine of America's economy agree that people should pay their fair share. They also agree that when we look at
business leaders want to pay more taxes. They keep saying, please raise my taxes. Please charge me more money. I need to give more money to the government. Please raise my taxes. They all agree. They all agree. We have no idea what fair share means. I'll tell you right now, I should pay my fair share. My fair share is $1.50 a year. That's my fair share. That's what I should be paying. I should be paying my fair share. My fair share is $1.50 a year. Unfortunately, I'm paying a lot more than my fair share. I am a lot more than my fair share. Such a stupid term. It's like a feel-good term that means absolutely nothing, and that's why the Democrats have been using the term fair share for the last 30 years.
Plan such as mine that is about investing in the middle class, investing in new industries, investing in bringing down costs.
Does absolutely nothing to help the economy. Nothing. How does that help the economy? How? Just tell us how. Walk us through it. Maybe, I guess, if you're still a believer of 1940s thinking of Keynesian economics, in that case, you think that actually works. You think that works. Which is the only economic plan that Democrats have ever that model. It's the only answer to economic issues every time is Keynesian economics. Not that I think that this dimwit has any clue what Keynesian economics is. So you'll be a little bit more enlightened than Kamala. Keynesian economics is a reference to the notion, the disproven notion, that if people have more money, they spend more money, and that money washes through. The irony of this whole thing, the irony of their belief in Keynesian economics is that they're continually bashing what's been referred to as trickle-down economics, and instead employing Keynesian economics. So I'm not going to bore you. I'm going to make this as simple as possible. Keynesian economics is, okay, so if middle-class people have a lot more money, so they're going to use that money and spend it on things. And when they spend it on things, that will help spur the economy. That will help, because when they spend, if a guy goes now and buys a suit that he wouldn't otherwise buy, goes to a tailor and buys a suit, so now that tailor has money. The tailor has money, so then he ends up going out and he ends up buying a brand new TV. So now the TV seller has an extra $100, and that money gets rolled over, and that just gets the juices flowing of the economy. So that's why they employ Keynesian economics. Every time you hear about an infrastructure deal designed to spur the economy, that's Keynesian economics thinking. That if we give money to these road workers to help fix our roads, that's going to cure the economy. This is the stupidest flaw in the world. Because first and foremost, if this were true, you don't need to give the money to someone for doing a job. You could just give them the money. Meaning, If the government wants to give a job to someone, to a whole bunch of folks, and say, you know what, the first 100,000 people that apply, we're going to give them a job where they're going to be sitting at home watching TV. And we're going to give you all this money. And you can say, we're going to give you $50,000 a year to sit at home watching TV, $100,000 a year, sit at home, watch TV. And if you do that, and you check in with us 3 times a day to prove that you're watching 8 hours of TV every day, in that case, we'll give you $100,000. So imagine the government offering such a job. So someone's now getting $100,000. Like, wow, I got to invest in, like, I have to make sure I have a nice TV, right? So they're going to spend some of that money on TVs. Right? They're going to need more comfortable couches, a lot more soft drinks, a lot more pretzels, potato chips. Be spending all that money that they otherwise are not spending because they're busy, wasting their time away on actually doing work. So you could say, well, now that's going to be when the government engages in this activity, what's going to end up happening? It's going to be a boon for the lazy boy company or for whatever Sears or CERTA or whatever stupid, couch companies. It's going to be a boon for Best Buy and everyone who's helping to sell TVs. It's going to be a boon for the snack industry. It's going to be a boon for Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola. It's going to be a boon for all these different industries. Why wouldn't that work? Why is that not a great idea? Sounds like a good idea, right? Shouldn't that work? It's a good question, right? Doesn't work. What you think about? Why would that not work? Why was that? But that's what Keynesian economics is. You don't need to have someone actually doing something in theory. The answer to that question is that when you engage in this sort of thing, you're not producing anything. And when nothing is being produced, then the question becomes, where is that money that you're paying them coming from? Where's the money coming from? And the answer to that question is you have to drain that money from the people you're giving it to. It's not doing anything. You're draining it from people who are actually working and producing something. There's a video I saw a long time ago called The Broken Window, which refers to Keynesian economics and that whole backward thinking, the broken window fallacy that I want to share with you. In fact, it's a 3-minute video, which is a great breakdown as to I haven't.
What is the broken window fallacy? It all starts when a hooligan decides to throw a brick through the local baker's window. The community gathers at the bakery to discuss what has happened.
I feel bad for that poor baker. He's lost a window.
It's true, but if you stop and think about it, maybe it's not all that bad. After all, the baker does have to repair his window, which means the glazier will now have work to do. After getting paid, the glazier will probably spend his new income on some of your crops.
So, and basically in this analogy, the broken window is that wasn't broken beforehand is now spurring the economy, much as when you repave a road that doesn't need repaving, that you're now spurring the economy. You could chop up a road like a hooligan and then pave it back over and pay the pavers, pay the cement company, pay all the contractors and construction individuals and give them their money. And now they have money. So they're now like the window maker, right? They're getting that money that they otherwise would not have had if you didn't repave that road.
Then you'll have income to spend on even more goods and services.
Biscuits and gravy. The hooligan has actually stimulated the economy. Imagine how many more jobs would have been created if the hooligan had done more damage.
Just have break more windows. That'll fix the whole economy. Break every window.
Have you all lost your minds? Haven't you read Frederick Bastiat or Henry Hazlitt? You're only focusing on what's seen. The money I will spend repairing the broken window, or while you will ignore what's unseen. The money I would have spent on a new suit. The tailor would have also spent his new income on some of your crops, a farmer giving you more income to spend on other goods and services. The only difference is that I would have had both my window and a new suit, whereas now I only have a window. This hooligan has cost our community a new suit.
Ooh, see that? So the baker would have spent this money anyway. This is why Keynesian economics doesn't make any sense. It doesn't.
The story of the hooligan shows us that physical damage destroys wealth. After all, if the Hooligans Act actually did stimulate the economy, then society would have been better off if he had destroyed the sign, the building, and the rest of the town. But the broken window fallacy is much more prevalent than it may first seem. In fact, it remains at the core of mainstream policymaking. For example, when the government claims to create jobs by financing public works programs, such as construction, it does so at the expense of its citizens in the form of either higher taxes or inflation. The citizens would have spent their tax dollars on other goods and services, like refrigerators or surfboards or movie tickets, which would have increased job growth in those industries. Because these goods will never be produced, however, these potential jobs remain unseen, but they are no less real and no less important as the jobs that we do see.
Great video, great breakdown.
So if you ever hear of the stimulative effects of wartime spending, tariffs, or stimulus bills, know that this is merely our old friend, the broken window fallacy, dressed in new clothing and grown fat beyond recognition.
Great breakdown. Who did that? Who did that? The Victory Report. All of 543 subscribers. What a great job by them. Great job by them. All right. So she wants to raise taxes. You're going to have to raise taxes. And when you raise those taxes on corporations, what are they going to do? They're going to pass the cost on to you.
Invest in entrepreneurs like small businesses, that the overall economy is stronger and everyone benefits. Part of my plan for the economy is investing in new industries in a way that we have
This is why I keep saying the reality is the government's not supposed to try to fix it. The Constitution doesn't tell them to try to fix the economy. They're not supposed to be doing this, and they cannot do anything other than the only time you can see some sort of, I guess, potential impact is when they screw around with interest rates. That's the only time. That's the only way that's the only time. And even then they tend to get it wrong. So this whole concept of we're going to have spending or have this thing to try and stimulate this thing or help that thing, every time you're basically talking about one piece of fabric and they're trying to use to cover both their hips and their ankles, but there's too little fabric. So so when their hips start showing, they start tugging it up. And then when they see their ankles are showing, they start tugging it back down. And I understand why they do it. Frankly, American voters are motivating federal government to get involved in our economy because we tend to punish them or reward them depending on how good or bad the economy is, because the voting mindset of the public writ large is going to be based on what their pocketbook is. That's just historically how it's always been. That's why there was the birth of the phrase, "It's the economy, stupid." Always. So I understand why they're trying to talk about how to fix it. But when they fix it, invariably, they just make it worse. And especially when you have a dim-witted moron like Kamala trying to fix it.
Partnership with the private sector. I've worked with the private sector my entire career. Even as vice president, working with some of the biggest banks and biggest tech companies to increase by billions of dollars the money going into community banks to increase access to capital for small businesses. Why do those biggest corporations and CEOs do that? Because they know those kinds of investments, like in our small businesses, in startups and entrepreneurs, actually strengthens America's economy overall and everyone benefits. So that's
not why. Oh my God, stop it.
It's not about bilking anybody, but it is certainly about saying, let's make sure that we create opportunities for everyone to grow wealth.
Stephanie Rule is a joke of a reporter. She's a joke.
I believe that
She's a joke.
it is not sufficient, and it should not be our goal to just make sure everyone is working. That should be the baseline. That should be a given. And let's create an economy where people have the ability to buy a home, to start a business, to take a nice vacation from time to time, right?
For people who want to buy a home, yes, getting a $25,000 kicker would be great. But it's not just affording a home. We don't have enough in this country.
You're absolutely right.
And one of the main problems are regulations and rules, strict rules at a local level. How does the federal government cut through all that red tape and get down to, the suburbs of Pittsburgh and say, we're going to...
Oh, that's what the federal government is really good at, cutting through red tape. That's what they do. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows. Everyone knows. Here's a question which has no answer, but we're going to see how she circle jerks around this. Let's see the little dance around the fire for this answer.
Have to build some affordable housing here. How do you connect the two?
So you're absolutely right. So across our country, people rightly are concerned about the cost of housing. So it's home ownership, to your point. We need more supply. That is, without any question, part of the...
Is that going to affect local red tape? Is that fixing it?
Solution. Creating more supply under my plan includes creating tax incentives.
There are plenty of incentives for supply. The reason housing prices are so high is because there is a lack of supply because of the migrant crisis that you created. So there is plenty of issue. The issues are the regulations. How are you cutting through those regulations?
Work with the private sector and home builders. Part of my goal and the plan would be to create 3 million new housing units for rent and for ownership by the end of my first term.
By the end of her first term, how many houses do you think that we put in a year? We create a year. She's talking about her goal. Her goal is 3 million new houses by the end of her first term. Okay. 3 million new living accommodations by the end of her first term. How many do you think we make a year? So I actually saw someone who broke this down. You know how many we currently make a year? 1 million. That's right. That's right. By the end of your first term, we should have 4 million. This is like saying my goal is by the end of my administration, we should have all of Florida conquered. We should have complete control. Our country should have complete control of the state of Florida. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Idiot. Just a complete and total liar. Like, she assumes that no one's actually going to look up how many houses we make in a year. Don't take my word for it. Oh, okay. Sorry. My bad. I got my number wrong. In 2023, 1.41 million houses were built in the United States, which is a 9% decrease from the previous year. A decrease. Which means that normally we should have 1.5 million houses. I'm sorry, I undersold us. We're supposed to have 6 million houses that are built every 4 years. That's what we're supposed to have. Her goal is to have 3 million new houses. Unbelievable. How terrible can this woman be at this? How bad can you be at this? My goal is to have 3 million new houses by the end of my first term. My goal is to one day finally have an NYPD hat. That's my goal. My goal is that by the end of by tomorrow's show, I should own an NYPD hat. What the hell is wrong with this woman? Unbelievable. My goal. 3 million. She said, that's just, what's wrong with you?
It includes housing home builders. My plan includes creating tax incentives to work with the private sector and home builders. Part of my goal and the plan would be to create 3 million new housing units for rent and for ownership by the end of my first term. It includes also what
Oh my God. Tell me you're incompetent without using the word incompetent. Tell me you're incompetent without using the word incompetent. Unbelievable.
we must do to cut red tape. You're absolutely right.
No. Even if you don't cut red tape, you'll get 3 million that are built within the next 3 years on the outside. Idiot.
Takes far too long, and there's too much bureaucracy associated with home building. And I say that as a devout public servant. I know that we have to reduce the red tape and speed up what we need to do around building. And
she just asked you how you're going to do that, and you just said we have to do it. This is like when she's asked how you're going to pass a law to raise taxes on corporations, and she's like, well, we have to. This interview is such an utter fail. It's such an exposure as to how terrible she is as a potential candidate. Why it is that she couldn't get 1% of the vote when she was in the Democratic primary in 2020, because she's useless. I mean, she's stupid. She talks in certain word sound circles. She doesn't know what the hell she doesn't have no idea at all what the heck she's talking about.
that is going to require working from the federal level with state and local governments. And it's going to be different in different places, depending on the needs of that community, the needs of that local government, that municipality, but working in consultation and coordination, and also around incentives that we can create. For example, some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars, and looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner. That
how many times are you going to say holistic? This is like the word. This is now obviously the word that they told her. People like the sound of the word holistic. They like the sound of it. You should use that more. It sounds like holy. It sounds like warm and engaging. Use the term holistic. It sounds smart. You sound so SMRT smart when you say the word holistic. Try to use that word. Use that word a lot. Such a doofus.
It includes prioritizing affordable housing for working people.
Then let me ask you a business that matters a lot to this town.
Yeah.
U.S. Steel.
Yes.
Right? When you think Pennsylvania, when you think Pittsburgh, you got the Liberty Bell in Philly, and you got U.S. Steel in Pittsburgh.
That's right.
A Japanese company wants to buy them. You are opposed to this idea. Many people are. But if the deal doesn't go through, they have said people could lose jobs. They could close mills. They could leave the state of Pennsylvania. I mean, that is like moving the Liberty Bell to Newark. So which is more important?
It's most important that we maintain America's ability to have American manufacturing of steel by American workers.
Okay. She does not have an answer. This is her I'm stalling face. Let's hear the question again, because this one is clearly a struggle. I haven't seen this yet, but this is clearly a struggle here. So she's basically like, okay, so do you sell to the Japanese or potentially close plants, right? So this is her, I'm struggling to, I don't know what to say. And you're against selling it to Japan, which means these plants may close. So what is your answer? My answer is American jobs. What does that mean? American jobs employed by the apply.
Important that we maintain America's ability to have American manufacturing of steel by American workers.
Oh, she's so bad. She's so transparently bad.
For a number of reasons, which includes, again.
What reasons? Tell us what reasons. Why do we need to have American? Why? Shouldn't those reasons spell out which is more of a priority? Risking closing the plant or selling it to a foreign interest?
And back to the point of growing our economy and how I think about the economy overall,
Only-
investing in new industries. There is not a new industry that I can imagine that is not going to require steel as manufacturing of steel as a fundamental part of what it accomplishes. And having
Tell that to the makers of Crocs.
American workers.
Oh wait, I guess the machinery probably uses steel. How is this relevant? Oh my God, she's so bad at this.
In an American company manufacturing that steel for those new industries is going to be critically important, not only in terms of our economy, but also in the context of national security. Most people now realize if we didn't before the pandemic and the strain on supply chains and an over-reliance on foreign manufacturing, that we have to be intentional about US-based manufacturing. And of the
Does that mean owned by foreign interests and being manufactured here by American workers? You're not answering her question at all. We have no idea what side of the aisle, other than what she told us where you're starting, which is you don't want it sold. So if it's not sold, it might end up going out of business. So what's your answer there? Nothing.
products that we have to prioritize, steel is one of them. And that's always going to be my priority.
Steel workers.
She's so bad. So bad. Oh my God. Oh my God. You're watching the death of her candidacy. Thank God.
Matter in this country. Unions matter.
Yes.
In 2016, Donald Trump connected with unions. He saw them. There was an emotional connection. But what he didn't do was deliver policy. In the last 4 years, we have seen huge.
He didn't deliver policy? Really? Do you need to watch more of his 2020 State of the Union? Do you need to watch more, Stephanie? You need to watch more? Didn't deliver. It's like, I'm just going to summarize this way with a conclusory statement that has absolutely no basis in actual fact to set up how he was a failure, and now tell us how you'll do better. You are such trash. Utter trash, Stephanie Rule. Utter trash.
Wins in this country for unions, but not all unions have gotten behind you. I want to understand, when the Teamsters decided not to endorse you, what was their reasoning? What are they looking for?
She's not going to answer this question either. Why did they not endorse you? She's like, okay, let me see. So this is a point where I'm supposed to deflect. Let me deflect now. So I'm going to deflect and talk about other agencies besides Teamsters, because I don't like the fact that Teamsters, the reasons that they didn't endorse me is because there was a 20-point margin of Teamsters who support Donald Trump. By the way, in stark contrast, there was like a 3-point favor, a 3-point difference in favor of Biden over Trump. It was like 51-48, 48.5 when Biden was in the race. And now it's something like, I don't know, 60-40 in favor of Trump over Kamala. Probably because you hate fracking.
Well, let me go back to our just previous conversation. I'm very proud to have the endorsement of the steelworkers and almost every other.
Deflect. I don't want to talk about the Teamsters. They make my face go funny when I think about I make weird faces. I look like I'm trying to imitate that alien from Guardians of the Galaxy with like something floating out of the center of my forehead. When you mention the Teamsters, like I just sucked on a lemon and I'm trying to like just sort of, I'm just trying to deflect. I'm desperately trying to deflect here, Stephanie. Desperately trying to deflect. What's the name of that character? You guys know the character I'm talking about from Guardians of the Galaxy. Her eyebrows are like, 4 inches over her eyes. I'm desperately going to deflect here. Well, I look like I'm sucking on a lemon.
Major union in America, because I stand by workers and I stand by the importance of being able to join a union and to understand the benefit and the value of unions. And I understand the importance of investing in new industries and working actively with the private sector to grow our economy. But
I'm not any good at any of those things, but I understand them. Oh my God. Joe, shaking my head. Dems have long believed another classic economic model called free labor. Yeah, well, that's definitely true. So these CEOs do realize that the IRS will cash any check sent to them. And sent to them? If they feel so strongly, they can just send it in their fair share. Oh, right, yeah. Hey, it's Georgia, Giant Slayer. I apologize. I missed your show. I meant to come on there. Can you do something about not streaming during like NFL season? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You guys need to check out George Giant Slayer. He is awesome. He always every Sunday he brings on a phenomenal panel of guests. He's introduced me to all these different cool folks that I've been itching to meet. Like Mr. Reagan, the guy who makes those phenomenal vids. Anton Daniels, just amazing, really. And they have like really awesome conversations about where the woke politics are destroying our country. You guys must check out George's Giant Slayer. And he besides the phenomenal content he puts on his videos. So make sure you check him out. He's awesome. And thank you. I appreciate the very kind words. Best insight and show anywhere. For the 4 years of his presidential term, Trump didn't take his presidential salary, donating it back to the government. Is Kamala taking her salary? Biden? Yeah, these are good questions. I think I've said this before, but Keynesian economics is a junkie's mindset with the expected results. I don't remember you saying that. I think I would have remembered that. But I'll try to remember you. I'll try to note it. I'm going to write it down now. Jackal says Keynesian economics is junkie mindset. Expected results. Right. Duly logged. There you go. If any of you want me to just take note of like brilliant insights like this one right here, that from Jackals, that you can go on record as saying, feel free, you can drop a comment and I'll do my best to make sure that you're on record. You are on record. Thank you, Jackals. Fletcher Boy says, look at the 2016 debate between Hillary and Trump about taxes. Rich Democrats will not raise taxes. Yeah. That's what Trump pointed out. He's like, I use those loopholes that you created for your donors. Kilo was a heck of a red tape sword for destroying homes. Okay. Oh, because nobody can truly conquer Florida, man. No one can. Kamala trying to beat Trump on building. Yeah, I know. It's like Trump doesn't know anything about building. He doesn't know. I'm the one who knows how to build. I'm the one who knows how to build. I also know how to raise kids. I've never, those who can do, those who can't teach. If I were her Stanford economics professor father, I've gone out for milk too. She's so dense, not even intelligence can escape. I like it. I like it. No one knows. No one knows Nurse Weezer. No one knows. Unions are supporting her because they know they'll be in charge of our industries when they're implementing the communist agenda. That's probably true, Kimmy. Sitting in heels is a metaphor of uselessness. Yeah. They say, actually, it's a thing that kings in like France used to wear high heels. They're not just because they were short. My goal is to get cheap laugh from Joe for $5. Figure I've got much better chance of seeing my vision than Kamala does. There you go. That worked. Because you have dreams. Americans have dreams, and you're an American, and Americans have dreams. And I believe that Americans work hard towards their dreams. We just need to let them. And look, Michael, you need to recognize not everyone has your wit. So we need to help pass jokes along to other people so that they can engage. Because not everyone has the same opportunities. And that's a matter of just paying your fair share. And, CEOs and businessmen say that they want their fair share to be taken from them. That's what they want. They're begging for it. They're all begging for higher taxes. I live in a real world, in a real America, where people ask me for higher taxes. I live on Earth. Why do you think I don't live on Earth? Frankie, hey Joe, what are your current thoughts on the Retta saga? My current thoughts on the Retta saga. I don't think he's going to jail. There's lots. When you say the Retta saga, someone asked me about this. Said I've talked about this several times, but not everyone's going to catch every show. I get that. My thoughts on the Retta saga are: I don't believe this stuff about his kids, and if I did, I would never be able to look at him the same way, because once kids are involved in the equation, it changes everything. So I don't believe any of this stuff about his. I don't believe any of this stuff about the kids, because for a few reasons. Mostly because if I've seen how he talks and deals with his kids, and this is a guy who people fell in love with him because he's actually like, a father figure. I cannot imagine that these claims about him and his kids are true. If I did, I would think very differently about that thing. But so if we just accept with me for now that the claims about the kids are a joke, and especially when you consider the fact that police reports tend to lie a lot. We don't know. Few of us would trust. You wouldn't trust a police report about anyone just facially without seeing evidence, but especially if it's about a friend of yours and saying things that are completely contradictory to everything you know about that friend, you'd be like, yeah, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Now, with respect to the drugs, I've said that I don't have firsthand knowledge or any admission from him about drug usage or anything of that nature, despite the nature of our relationship. But a gun to my head from it, I've seen the same thing everyone else has seen. If you ask me, probably has a drug problem. Or had a drug problem. Drug problems, unfortunately, are all too common. And frankly, I think that everyone who's sitting there, there are people who just hate him, and they're going to be bashing on him. There are people who are trying to get rich off of him, and get rich off of him by bashing him. If you actually care about him, or you care about his kids, the way people claim to be so all about the children, well, in that case, you should be rooting for him to get his life together. And for the limited appearances he's made on his stream, he seems like someone who's much, much better than he was, not just in May, but in April or back in January of this year. He looks much healthier. He looks great. So I'm hopeful that, assuming my hunch about his drug usage was accurate, I'm hopeful that he's clean now, which is what everyone should be rooting for. And if you're not, then you're some sort of sick weirdo. So, and you should be hoping that he's back with his kids. And I do fully expect that ultimately he's not going to end up having to do any jail time. Will he have to plead? I saw that he lost on his motion. When I assessed that motion, I thought the motion is really not terrible. I also said I don't think he's going to win. Those motions the motion to get a Franks hearing is very difficult to win. And I said, I don't think he's going to win it. So I'm not surprised by that outcome. I noticed, I only learned about it. It's not like it's a story I'm following on a regular basis also. But yeah, I saw that Uncivil and Nate did a live stream breaking down his thing there. I don't think it was a difficult call to say he was going to lose. I said, when I did one stream where I was breaking down Uncivil's analysis of his motion, and I was disagreeing with certain things that Uncivil had said, while at the same time admitting that I don't think he's going to win on the motion, which he lost. So, that being said, I don't expect he's going to end up doing any jail time. And anyone who actually cares about the welfare of his wife, children, you should be rooting for the same thing, right? That he gets his life together, gets his crap together, hopefully returns to being the same guy that hundreds of thousands of people fell in love with. So that's my breakdown. 1 in 1,000 of the 1 in 10 have their wife's girlfriend's boyfriend's tranny. I don't know what that means. I mean, I think I know. 1 in 1,000 of the 1 in 10. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Sounds funny. I don't know what it means. I don't know. All right. I should check out my locals. I have been seeing stuff in locals here. Nora the River says, Joe, you missed this tip yesterday. Also, I think playing the X spaces on locals is a good idea. Well, thank you, Nora. I did miss this yesterday. And I apologize to a Texley for that. Texley said, special request suggestion. Could we go through Prairie Fire, aka the Weather Underground Manifesto, please? One of Obama's mentors, Bill Ayers, was one of the authors. As radical as the BHO crew are, we need to know more about the Chicago crowd who have helped influence in BHO's political formation, and there's a link there. In my opinion, we are living in a time when the parallels the heyday of the Weather Underground. Gracias. I haven't seen that myself. The Prairie Fire Manifesto. I appreciate the link to it. I never even heard the term Prairie Fire Manifesto until I saw that tip after the show wrapped up yesterday. And I would need to look through it and see whether it's really timely now during this election season before I would, because that sounds like something that's going to take it'll take a full night for me to go through. So I need to really think about doing that. So let's get a big vote in the positive for Idiocracy Logic for Commie Comrade Kamala Harris, Timmy the Timpan, no balls walls. Nice.
I'm asking because there's this idea we want something more from her. What is it?
Well, here's the thing. That back to your
know what people want from you. What do people want from you?
Point about previous.
Look at her stupid smile. This is like how do you call yourself a journalist? You're such a loser. Oh my God, Stephanie, you're the ultimate loser, sitting there smirking and smiling and feeding her stuff. This is so pathetic. And she's still struggling. She's sitting there, and Stephanie's holding her hand through this thing. Almost certainly gave her the questions beforehand. She's still like flailing around. Don't have answers for obvious questions. It's like, and when I say word salad, the interviewer here is going to sit here like just shy of some clapping seal, go whatever idiocy comes out of my mouth. This is so pathetic. I don't know if this is more embarrassing for Kamala or for MSNBC. What a joke.
Election cycles. Donald Trump made a whole lot of promises that he did not meet, and one would argue broke. Look at Lordstown.
Which promises? Tell us.
He said he was going to
don't sell your homes.
Yeah, don't sell your homes. And what happened? It shut down. Outsourcing under Donald.
I don't know what Lordstown is. Am I missing something? What is Lordstown? Was that a campaign promise? What the hell is Lordstown? It's a village in Ohio. I guarantee you anyone who still owns a home there, it's worth more now than it was when he came into office. Because housing prices have skyrocketed.
Trump, his policies that are about putting, tens to hundreds of % tariffs.
John Deere.
Yes. Yeah.
You kept his tariffs. You're such a clown. You're sitting here bashing the tariffs that you kept.
Yes. So part of the challenge, and I don't disagree that it's a challenge, got to earn the vote of everybody, is reminding people of fact, regardless of what somebody says in a small rally somewhere. And I think that's really important. And that's
the bobblehead right there. Did you see the bobblehead? I really mean it now. I really mean it now. A little bobblehead. Oh, please believe me. Yeah, that's what they mean. Check for 5.
In a small rally somewhere. And I think that's really important. And that's part of what I'm doing in this campaign, is to remind people, just like here in Pittsburgh, of the reality of who has stood with union labor, who stands for American manufacturing, who stands for American jobs.
Can I ask you about tariffs? Because you just mentioned it. It's not just with one company. Donald Trump's sort of big idea is this broad-based tariffs across the board.
That's not his big idea. No. He's talking about trying to keep jobs here in America, and that's why he's implementing tariffs. But apparently, yeah, everyone's like very small rallies, very small rallies. Yeah. She needs to bring in like some hip hop act to come out in front of her if she wants to generate his rallies. Small rallies.
You and many others have said that would be not only disastrous, but it would be a direct tax on the American consumer.
It would be a sales tax on the American people. That the independent economists have already measured this.
Here we go. It's a sales tax. You know, it's a tax. A tax is inflation. The inflation we've had on the U, that's a tax. That's a much more real tax. That's an inescapable tax. That's a tax everyone pays. Irrespective of how impoverished they are, they pay that tax. So here's the thing about taxes, okay? You can exclude people who are living below the poverty level from taxes, but you can't exclude them from inflation. So that's your tax. This word bad some collard greens.
By the sales tax of doing a 20% tariffs on all imports that he has described would be a 20% sales tax, in essence, on basic necessities for the average American worker.
That's definitely not true. The point to having a 20% tariffs would be to basically enable America to undercut them, so they wouldn't be paying the 20% tax. That's the point. That's the point. So, no. Yet again, economics 101, you failed.
Average American family totaling almost $4,000 a year. That is no small matter. Here in Pittsburgh, when I'm talking to a group of folks who work here, who live here,
they're paying higher, much more than that, based on inflation that you jacked up.
and when they hear it might be $4,000 more a year for them,
when I try selling them that lie,
look, people can't afford that.
But tariffs aren't unique.
They can afford the lies that I tell them. When I tell them that, hey, I tell them, hey, when I tell them that Donald Trump is going to cost you an extra $300,000 a year, they're like, I can't afford $300,000 a year extra. When I just completely make up numbers and I say that this is what it's going to do to you, they're like, they don't like that. They're like, and they shouldn't. And they should.
To President Trump, President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board. And that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly, I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues.
She's a very serious person. She's a very serious person. She's a very serious candidate. Very serious. She doesn't understand anything at all that she's talking about, but she's very serious about it.
And one must be serious and have a plan, and a real plan that's not just about some talking point ending in an exclamation at a political rally.
He lays out his plans. It's called Agenda 47. We don't know your plans. Your serious plans. You're very serious. Very serious. You're such a serious candidate. She's such a serious candidate that she had not one person vote for her in a primary. Very serious. You're so serious. Cackling Kamala, the serious candidate. Cackling Kamala, the serious candidate. No, seriously. No, seriously.
But actually putting the thought into what will be the return on the investment, what will be the economic impact on everyday people. And when you look at my plans, you will see what those benefits will be. No. $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. You know
what does that do? What does that do? Walk us through it seriously. Use your most serious tone when you walk us through how that affects the housing market. Walk us through it. Walk us through. I guess she's saying now that she's going to give money. That's what she's implying with this. Down payment assistance. I don't know what down payment assistance means. But walk us through. Because is that seriously going to help someone who's not a first-time home buyer? Is it going to seriously help them?
What that means, then you're creating the ability of that working person to build intergenerational wealth.
No, you're not. No, you're not. It's not intergenerational when they're paying off their mortgage at 15% or whatever stupid numbers they have to pay today. No, it's not intergenerational wealth.
Doing the work of the 6,000.
With her 3 million new homes, down from 6 million that we're supposed to have. Oh, God, she's so bad. One old guy. All of Triple K Harris's interviews are proof enough for us to know that any academic, professional, and political achievements were earned on the fact that she can use her mouth to only for word salad, not only for word salads, but on tossings. Harsh but true. I rate this super chat as harsh but true. Remember when Stephanie declared Michael Avenatti savior of the Democrats? First time seeing a post came at Wine Answers. She is so whiny, isn't she? No, because Americans have to realize they need someone who's serious. It has to be someone serious. Cackling Kamala, Triple K. Yep. I knew what you meant with that. I remember I saw up above when you referenced the when you weighed in with your Triple K. I thought it was Comrade Kamala. So it's Cackling Comrade. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
$1,000 child tax credit, doing the work of a $50,000 tax deduction for first-time small businesses, startups, because right now
that's a real plan.
It's a real.
Oh, that's a real plan, is it? It's a real plan when you figure out how to fund it. Tax credit, a tax deduction, a $50,000 tax deduction. A startup doesn't have taxes usually, not much in the way of taxes. No, because they're usually working at a loss. This is what I was talking about an hour ago. That's not the first thought that someone has when they're building a new business is, what will my taxes be in year one? No one's thinking that. Maybe they should be. I don't know. That's certainly not the first thing I'm thinking. What will my taxes be? Oh, phew, we have this $50,000 tax credit. That's not a real plan. That's not a serious plan. That's not someone who's like serious, who understands anything about business. Is like, oh yeah, that's gonna just now. How many people think about this? Okay, ask yourself if you think that this is a real plan, Stephanie Rule. Ask yourself this: how many businesses were killed in the idea stage because they're like, well, can't afford first year taxes. Can't afford them. Can't afford them. We would have gone forward with this, but taxes in years 1 and 2, that's just going to just bury us. So, but now that Kamala's here with her $50 tax deduction, now, oh, okay, now we'll build it. Now we can do it. That's good. How much growth do you think this is going to stimulate? Like, what is such a stupid thought? It doesn't make any sense at all. Nobody says, oh, I can't open that business because of the taxes I'm going to have to pay. Because if you're paying taxes, that means you're making money. Stupid. It's such a ridiculous thought process. It's like, who the hell is coming up with this for her? Nope, remember, pork could be used for any condition, even a new roof or appraisals, or was that just the back and basics for the broker? I don't know. I know nothing about that. To Steph's credit, they're looking at her face as one who knows the interview is full of crapola. Yeah, but she's going to sit here trying to sell it anyway because she's so desperate to keep Trump out of office.
For first-time small businesses, startups, because right
That's
now
a real plan.
it's a real plan because right now, and again, it's about paying attention to the detail and being serious.
Gaslighting. That's not a real plan. That's not doing anything.
Serious about it. I'm serious about my enthusiasm and my for small businesses and my belief in what they will do as part of America's economic engine.
This is someone who's never started a business, clearly. You never started a business. She never started a business, never built a home, never had a kid. And she's sitting here telling us how to fix all these things. Idiot.
Friday. Oh, sorry.
No, so looking at the fact that right now the tax deduction is $5,000, nobody in this year of our Lord 2024 can start a small business with $5,000. Very few can. So extending it to $50,000 tax deduction for startups. To generate the innovation and the ambition of the ideas that are present and among us, but need the fuel to be able to actually achieve the goal.
His plan is not serious when you lay it out like that, but it's
Oh, yeah. No, you're really serious. He's not serious. You're really serious. You're not a serious interviewer, okay? You're basically you're basically a 50-year-old cheerleader with a Karen haircut. That's what you are. You're a 50-year-old cheerleader in Wednesday Addams outfit with a Karen haircut. That's what you are. You're not a serious journalist.
serious problem over the last few years has been inflation. Luckily, it's cooling, but prices are still high.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You said you want to take this on by going after those who engage in price gouging.
Yeah.
But as somebody who supports free markets, who's a capitalist, how do you go after price gouging?
When did that happen? When did that happen? That she was a capitalist. When did that happen? When? But as someone who's a capitalist, but as someone who's a neurosurgeon, what do you think about our response to COVID? But as someone who's built many businesses, what do you think is the best way to spur innovation in the business industry? But as someone who has a storied career of raising lots of children, what do you think new parents are thinking about? As someone who's a capitalist, oh my God, she's so terrible. This is so bad. As someone who's a capitalist, someone who's a capitalist who wants to take away people's patents, because we can. Why not? Why not say yes? When Biden says there's sort of a constitution that stops us from doing that, she's like, instead of saying no, we can't, Joe, why don't we say yes, we can? Oh, I'm done with this stage. I'm not getting 1% of the vote anymore. Oh my God. You see the Sarah Huckabee town hall sound like someone I can support down the road. I was impressed. My mom was wondering if these silly women were watching. I haven't seen it. No, she's pretty good. Look at Triple K's eyes, soulless, clueless, and gray matter challenged.
Without implementing price controls. Because once we get in this zone, people start to get worried and they say, I don't know what she stands for.
So just to be very frank, I am never going to apologize for going after companies and corporations that take advantage of the desperation of the American people. And
that's what's been spurring the inflation. Not your disastrous economic policies. No. Not your disastrous shutting of the Keystone Pipeline or all the regulations you put on people who try to frack. No. Not that. It's the price gouging.
As Attorney General, I saw this happen. In the midst of an emergency, whether it be an extreme weather event or even the pandemic, we saw it, where those few companies, not the majority, not most, but those few companies that would take advantage of the desperation of people and jack up prices. Yeah, I'm going to go after them. Yes, I'm going to go after them. And that is part of a much more comprehensive plan on what we can do to bring down the cost of living, including housing, including the...
Name one company. Name one. Who is the price gouger? Tell us. Who's your target set on? Who is it?
Everyday needs of the American people.
On Friday, you are going to the border. Immigration is...
Well, finally. What a nice change for the borders are to actually go to the border.
Complicated. One of the issues is an economic one. And no one is eating cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio.
No, you don't know that. You don't know that. And it's not simply about eating cats and dogs. The point is that's what the disaster, the point to the Springfield story is not specifically about cats and dogs being eaten. The point is the disaster that's been struck, that's been dropped down on Springfield as a result of this awful, purposeful self-destruction, self-immolation by the Biden administration. When you talk about self-immolation as far as destroying our border, literally taking Texas to court for trying to close the border. That's how desperately this administration has been to bring in more and more of these migrants and then shuttle them in by the tens of thousands into small communities and basically saying, here, live with them. Everything's going to be totally fine. Ignoring all sorts of economic issues, infrastructure issues, as far as that the hospitals are overloaded, schools being overloaded, language issues, cultural issues. Like some of them might just believe that eating cats is okay. And I'm not saying that's the Haitians in Springfield. That's not the freaking point. Everyone knows that's not the point. You want to try and basically, zero in on that, despite the fact that there are several credible claims that have been made to this point. It doesn't matter. The point is, this is what's coming to your community soon because Biden and Harris decided we must have a wide open border. That's the point. They're trying to bring in as many people as possible because America is built on immigration.
And I'm glad not to be talking.
And by the way, I want to be clear in case someone takes me out of context, which people are wont to do, that I have no problem with legal immigration. I got no problem with that. Do you know how many people we legally immigrate into this country on average for the last 50 years per year? 1 million people per year. 1 million. You know how many other countries are doing that? 0. You know how many other countries in American history have ever done that? 0. So have we been built on immigration? Yes. Legal immigration? Yes. 100%. If you come here legally, whether it's via green card, you're naturalized, whatever steps you take to come here legally, I say, God bless. Welcome to the United States of America. Properly vetted, coming in at a healthy pace. But when our own president and vice president destroy our borders, that is not someone who cares about America. That is someone who is completely comfortable with destroying America. So, yeah, sitting here trying to just zero in on the cats and dogs, which, while funny story, she's sitting here let's hear how she sets this question up to try and make this hopeless loser look less ineffective.
Talking about that, but there are people there that are stressed, that feel that they're at capacity. Communities around the country that have legal immigration, many have said we're at capacity. And many feel like the government has said to them, well, adapt, sit down, be quiet. This is how it is. What would a Harris administration do for those communities who've taken in many, many legal immigrants, but are at capacity?
Well, first of all, we do have a broken immigration system, and it needs
I made sure of that.
To be fixed.
Now I'm going to sit here. I'm going to lie to you about the bill that Donald Trump crushed. Which we don't even know that happened. But he should have crushed it if he didn't, because it was basically this border will be open forever. So instead of answering this question, which I'm not going to answer at all, about what we should do with these communities which are already overflooded with illegal immigrants, I'm going to sit here yelling about how Donald Trump is the reason that this border that we've destroyed is a problem.
And if we take a step back, months ago, some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress came together with others.
There we go.
Proposed a border security bill.
It wasn't a border security bill. It was a border destruction bill. It was a border that mandated that for the rest of eternity, America must allow 500,000 illegal immigrants to come into this country every single year, forever. And no president is permitted to slow that down. even during our worst times, our worst invasions, that every day you must allow another 1,400 illegal aliens to cross our border, which is insane. Insane. It was a poison pill. It was not a border security act. It was a border destruction act.
That would have put 1,500 new border agents on the border to help those hardworking border agents who are there right now working around the clock.
Oh, shut up.
Would have put more money into stemming the flow of fentanyl, which is killing Americans around our country and devastating communities. Would have put more resources into our ability to prosecute transnational criminal organizations, which in my career I've prosecuted.
No, that doesn't do anything. The fact that you prosecuted them is really that's like saying I know all of, that's like someone saying that they know all about what America is about because they live in Serbia. They spent their entire life there, but they saw Team America World Police. What the hell does that do with anything? So who cares if you prosecuted? So what? What does that have to do with shutting the border? What does that have to do with a policy?
Donald Trump got word of the bill, realized it was going to fix a problem he wanted to run on, and told him to kill the bill. Don't put it.
That's a lie. It wasn't going to fix anything.
It up for a vote. He killed a bill that would have actually been a solution because he wants to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
I'm so mad at him that he didn't walk through how destructive that bill was. I was yelling it live during the debate. Answer that question, why you killed it, because there's great answers which expose her for the communist, ridiculous Marxist positions that she embraces. The fact that she wants us to have no border. That's what he I've heard him say it at rallies, but he got sidetracked. He got sidetracked from answering it, and that I was really upset with him for.
And that's part of what needs to be addressed. And my pledge is that when elected president, if the American people will have me, I will bring that bill back and I will sign it into law.
God forbid. God forbid. On everything she just said.
And we need a comprehensive plan that includes what we need to do to fortify not only our border, but deal with the fact that we also need to create pathways for people to earn citizenship.
Then I wanted to.
There's already 1 million a year coming in here. Pathways. Well, we don't have pathways. No one else in history has ever done what we've done on this. We need pathways to citizenship. Gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm listening to her right now, and I'm being reminded of Bill Burr. Bill Burr, when he's like, one thing I want to say, and look, you never do it. It's really wrong to do it. You never do it. You're never ever supposed to do it. You're never supposed to do it. You're never supposed to. But don't tell me that there's not a reason. Don't tell me there's not a reason. And look, I'm not saying there aren't some guys out there. I played for you, but this whole video come crashing down. You can't show live comics who are actually who are well recognized without my video coming crashing down. But he's like, look, I'm not telling you that there aren't guys who are terrible human beings, terrible, awful human beings, and they're terrible people. They come home and they're like, tuna casserole, pow. Yeah, okay. Those people, I'm not talking about that. But don't tell me that there's never a reason. There's never a reason. I'm seeing her face right now, and I'm listening to her, and I'm just like, don't tell me there's not a reason. Don't tell me when she's sitting here gaslighting about her border destruction bills, or sitting here gaslighting about how we have to come up and invent some brand new way to have a pathway. Don't tell me with her stupid smug face and her idiotic ideas, don't tell me there's no reason to at least wanna. There's a reason to wanna. You don't do it. You don't do it. But there's plenty of reasons to wanna. Because I'll tell you right now, if it was a dude, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah, I wanna. Oh, hell yeah, I wanna. You never do it. But oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Just ask you about a little job and a big job. Okay. The first one, just
Before we get to that, let me get to this. Now, this identity was calling herself Frank. What an a-hole. Sally's the Retta of the stupid and ignorant. Of course it is. That's the only Democrats are continually marking themselves toward that demographic. That's the intersectionality they love. Sent a 30-second clip with Whoopi's hate speech today. I missed it. Maybe I'll try to check that out. U.S. Border Patrol is open 24/7. Enforcement Agency Triple K. You would know that if you ever engaged with the agents in that agency. She maybe supposedly Friday she's finally visiting the border. I guess she had to be running for president to go down there for a nice photo op for her to go down there. The most interesting thing is that it's never brought up that several 100,000 children across the border cannot now be accounted for. Neither Trump nor Kamala bring that up. Yeah, that is pretty freaky. It's pretty terrifying. Several 100,000 children. I've heard this also. Remember when she screwed up Lake Kushi Mary? The Lake Kushi Mary? I don't remember that. I don't specifically remember that, to be frank with you. I don't remember. Soltron, I already covered saying Mayor Adams' indictment. I already covered that, and I said I'll probably be on Spaces tomorrow talking about it when it becomes public. Did it become public? Is it unsealed? Is it unsealed? It's in a casserole. I was talking about that topic so carefully because you can't talk about it. You can't talk about it. You can't make a joke about it without people like misunderstanding. Oh, okay. I missed. I didn't know this happened with a lesbian couple. I'm not familiar with this story. I'm not familiar with this story. All right, let's talk about a little job and big job. Let's see what Stephanie Rule is going to try and sell America on next.
Just a fact check, because your opponent
There is
almost
no little
every
job.
day. Okay,
There's no such thing as a little job.
Okay, fair. Because your opponent almost every day seems to be talking about this. So I just want to ask you yes or no. At any point in your life, have you served 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, working at a McDonald's? Yes or no? That's it.
I have.
Okay. Now,
Really? Because it was taken off of her bio, apparently. So I don't believe you. McDonald's says they have no record of you ever working for her. So I think this is another lie. That she knew she was going to be asked. And she's like, oh, yeah, I got this. I got this. Oh, there you go. Okay. How's that been working out for you, saving it? Because I was counting 1, 2, 3 super chats. What you were trying to save. I don't know if it's working out for you. Let me know in a $2 super chat if it's working out for you. Let me know.
Now the other job.
But it was not a small job. Like I did the fries. I mean, yes,
okay, for a
but
small
I did.
period of time. But then let me ask about a big job.
But to your point, if you don't mind, before you get to the big job, there's a part of the reason I even talk about having worked at McDonald's is because there are people who work at McDonald's in our country who are trying to raise a family. I worked there as a student. I was a kid.
No, you didn't.
Who worked there trying to raise families and pay rent on that.
No, you didn't. And by the way, first of all, perfect freeze frame for me. Second of all, this might sound elitist, and it's not intended to be. It's not intended to be. I've spoken out against minimum wage jobs. Minimum wage jobs are not intended for you to support your family on. The American dream is not rooted on a notion that you should be able to support your family on a minimum wage job. The American dream is founded on a notion that you work hard, you get an education, and you develop yourself into something beyond being someone who's sweeping toilets at McDonald's or working a fryer. McDonald's proudly touts how they have job advancement within their franchise. It's likely true. They're very bothered by the phrase McJob, very bothered by it. But The point is, you're not supposed to be working minimum wage and supporting a family. This is part of the broken concept that the Democrats don't. It's not simply that they don't help; they actually harm their own constituents, because they're basically saying, "Yeah, this is what you should be doing. Your aspiration should be that you'll basically be a waiter, or working the register at McDonald's and paying and supporting your family." And I'm not trying to say those jobs are easy. They're not easy. They can be very taxing. You work as a stock boy in some supermarket. That's hard work. It's hard work. I did that. One day I lasted. One day. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I was exhausted. Exhausted one day as a stock boy when I was like, I don't know, 18. It's a very hard job. It's a very hard job. There's a lot of hard jobs like that. The American dream is not founded on you raising a family on that job. It's meant for college kids. It's meant for to like supplement as far as like something that you should be doing. But this notion that this weird woman has, that she's sitting here like, advocating for, about, people who try and raise a family, working two jobs like that. It's hell. It's hell. It feels like slavery. Those are terrible. Those are terribly difficult jobs. It's a very difficult life. It's a very, very difficult life. It's like you're a free person and yet you're a slave. Because you're a slave to your bills, you're a slave to barely scraping by, and sometimes not even succeeding at that. But the point is that's not what the American dream is not meant for people. The American dream is basically designed to say, no, work your tail up and advance yourself so that you have skills that are marketable. American dream is not built for an education system where someone's getting a major in interpretive dance. It's not. The idea is to be productive. You're enhancing our GDP. And you get your slice of the pie. It's split 330 million ways. And how big is your slice going to be? Well, I guess now under a Biden administration is now 350 million ways, because another 20 million people just showed up over the last 4 years. But the point being that's essentially the American dream is not designed to have people tap out once they get that Mick job and just stay at working a fryer. And perhaps the worst thing the Democratic Party does is that they sit there trying to encourage their voters to stay there. It's like, it's basically, it's the precursor to you'll have nothing and you'll be happy. It's ridiculous. And it's really harmful to those people. It's really unfair.
And I think part of the difference between me and my opponent includes our perspective on the needs of the American people.
You see, because she has a Marxist perspective that we need to give people encouragement to stay there and basically stay at that level. And those are, like I said, that's not to say that those jobs are easy, because I know firsthand that they are not. They are not easy at all. Now, I ended up switching that summer, as I recall. I ended up switching, and I basically got myself a job as a waiter like the next day, which was also a hustle, but it was a much easier hustle comparatively. Stockboarders. Oh my God. That was terrible. Waiter, at least I could have a little bit of my own creativity, have some engagement with people, shorter hours. Triple K really serious about only doing big jobs. That freeze frame is it's a great look for her. Yeah, she looks so old. They're not bothered by the phrase "El Mick Trab." I don't know what that is. What is Trabajo? I don't know what that is. Thank you, Keenan. I appreciate you. Honestly, it's probably closer to 380 million. The 50 figure comes from Rush during the Bush and Obama years. Probably true.
and what our responsibility then is to meet those needs.
Then to the big job. You have laid out policy in great detail.
Yeah.
You see, here's more gaslighting. When did that happen? No, she doesn't explain how she's paying for any of these policies. So no, she's given zero detail, zero explanation. Nobody knows what the hell she's talking about. You don't know what she's talking about, but you're just going to sit here trying to pretend like, oh, now we all understand where you're coming from here. You're a terrible human being, Stephanie Rule.
But the economy is an unpredictable beast.
And other than the fact that we can predict with fairly good accuracy, based on what happened over the last 16 years, that if a Democrat's in charge of it, it will fail. And they'll blame their opponent while it's failing.
And you are running for a job that takes extraordinary instinct and guts.
Yeah.
That's what she is. She's a visionary.
What's the last time you had to make a gut decision? This here is very prescribed, it's very controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah, very controlled. I think they actually practically wrote her script for her.
Probably the biggest gut decision I've made most recently is to choose my running mate.
That was it? Your terrible running mate? The guy who turned Minnesota into a sanctuary state for illegal aliens, basically brought in as many illegal aliens as he can. So these are basically now stockpiling his state with thousands of people that they have no idea anything about them. And look, I'm sure the majority of them are probably good people, but amongst them are probably, you got to figure statistically, you got a fair share of wacky pervs there. So he brings them into these states, tens, hundreds, I don't know, thousands of potential wacky pervs, and then told neighboring states, hey, if you come here, I'm making it a law that will give you and you're confused about your gender, I'm making a law that you can get all your stuff done over here and we'll take care of you. So I'm attracting and he created a perfect storm for children to be groomed. We basically is encouraging runaway kids to come to Minnesota, brought in all these wacky pervs. And again, that's not to say the majority of illegal aliens are wacky pervs. I don't think that's true. But there certainly is going to be tens, hundreds, thousands, whatever percentage it is, of normal wacky pervs. Let's assume it's the same percentage internationally. Same, whatever amount of wacky pervs you think there are on America. You think there's a lower percentage internationally? Because I don't think it's lower. I don't think it's lower. So whatever that number is, tens, hundreds, thousands, and he's basically saying, oh, I'm going to bring you a buffet of children who are confused about their sexuality and have them come on over here. And then I'll pass another law which says it's perfectly legal for any total stranger to talk to you about your sexuality, irrespective of your age or their age. So he basically said, this is the person that was her gut decision is the right guy to bring in. I'm going to bring in basically this guy who's now hoarding in all these illegal aliens, hoarding in all these kids who are really confused about their sexuality, and then making it as legal as possible for the perviest amongst them to go out there and ferret these confused kids out and do whatever they want with them, and whatever they do. Or I should do it like Tim Walz would do it. Yeah. You, oh yeah, you, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh, that's right, coach. Call me coach. I'm so good at this. Where's my autistic kid? This is what her gut said. Her gut. This lunatic, wacky dude. The dude who wants to basically says, oh sure, someone has an abortion and it doesn't work out so well. The baby's crying there. Well, starve it to death. That's who she brought in. It's her gut. Such great gut instincts.
Yeah.
Great gut. Yeah, great.
There were lots of good, incredible candidates.
And yet I chose Tim Walz.
And ultimately that came down to a gut decision.
I know I'm out of time, but then I just want to ask you a question from my gut.
Okay.
Because today we're talking about we're talking about the economy.
Yeah.
Like classic feminist. Always like, I have to be talking about reproductive.
And people don't think often about reproductive rights being an economic issue, but it is. A woman's ability to plan her future, her education, her life. Today, and in the last few days, Donald Trump keeps talking about it and how in overturning Roe v. Wade, he helped women. He protected women. He says they're
Yeah, because a lot of fetuses are women. So yeah, millions of women.
miserable today. They're poorer today. They're more vulnerable today. He said he will be the protector of women if elected. Can you respond to that?
Can I just give you like one last softball question I can toss up to you here, where you can sit here bashing Donald Trump?
So Donald Trump is also the person who said women should be punished for exercising a decision that they rightly should be able to make about their own body and their.
When did he say that? When did he say, what the hell are you talking about now? What are you talking about? When did he say that? All these laws that criminalize abortion are about the doctors, not punishing the women. What are you talking about? Some of the female doctors? Who are you talking about?
Future. So I think we would all agree that as a result of that perspective that he has about women, he also then chose 3 members of the United States Supreme Court who did as he intended, undid the protections of Roe v. Wade, and now instead.
Roe v. Wade wasn't the law when the Dobbs was overturned. It wasn't. It was Planned Parenthood.
State after state, you see laws being passed that do punish women. Laws that, I mean,
no, they punish doctors. They punish doctors, not women.
Most recently, a heartbreaking story.
Oh, here we go with this made-up story.
Resulted in a young woman dying.
Really?
A mother of a 6-year-old.
Really? Really?
Heart-wrenching stories.
What are you talking about?
And that's for the listener, much less their family.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
So, look, I think the thing about Donald Trump is that, you know, I don't think the women of America need him to say he's going to protect them. The women.
You're sitting here saying you know what's best for parents. But how dare he say he knows what's best for women? You don't know anything about being a parent. You're sitting here saying you know what's best for businesses. You've never built a single business in your life. You're sitting here, you know about housing development. How many houses have you developed?
Of America need him to trust them.
Can we trust you?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I've flip-flopped on every issue I've ever campaigned on over the last 2 months. Absolutely, you could trust me. What a tough question there.
I am not perfect.
No,
but
really, you don't say.
I will tell you, I'm always going to put the needs of the people first.
You haven't. This has always been about you. That's the problem.
Madam Vice President, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
What a complete cluster fart. What a complete cluster fart. Oh my God. Her gut was wrong? Yeah, seriously. Seriously. Joe, you have to look into Candace Owens' investigation. She uncovered Kamala's lies in her book, Fake Pics with Her Grandma, who died 4 years before she was born. Oh, it was Burger King who had sesame buns, not McDonald's. 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickled onion on the sesame bun. 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onion on the sesame bun. Oh, got to get one of these. I'll trust you. I don't know. You're probably correct. Great detail in Democracies is BS. Controlled like laxative induced BS, which is Tim the Tampon, no balls. You're having a great time tonight. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Triple K is 5'2" and Timmy Tampon is 6'2", proving crap can be stacked low and high. Nice. Nice. I really wanted to get to this. Where was it? Not this. Stephanie Rule talking about, it was really one line she said that I really wanted to get from her mouth. This MSNBC breakdown of the interview after the fact. It's pretty funny, actually. It's pretty funny how desperately they're trying to like cover for her. Like, this was a great interview. You did it. You got it. We did it, Joe. We did it. We did it, Joe. I'm already here for 3 hours. This is gonna be like another half hour if I do this. I know it. I can't help myself. I'm sorry. We got another half hour to go here. This is MSNBC talking with Stephanie Rule right after the fact.
Wrapped up her interview with Vice President Kamala Harris. The interview will air in full tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. But here's a preview. Here's what she had to say about Trump and his threat.
About some.
Steph Mark Cuban keyed off on this as well, the potentially calamitous impact of the kind of tariffs Trump is talking about. I'm glad
Calamitous.
you asked her about this. Tell us more.
Tell us more.
I mean, Trump's plan would be economically disastrous.
Yeah, I don't care about this part. I care more about in their stupid take about like economically success. This is the guru right here. She's the real insight.
Jobs and bringing back American manufacturing. You got to get real, because tariffs are only going to hurt this country. And while he's saying it to an
There already are tariffs, and they have been hurting the country. They've been hurting the country. Why is the Biden administration keeping them?
audience, that same audience has Amazon boxes outside their front door. And we've been accustomed to the way that we live, but they are bringing manufacturing back. So while she didn't want to get deep on what they're going to do, what her plan is on tariffs, they do have a
I thought you said she has such a plan.
Serious plan.
Oh, serious plan.
As it relates to manufacturing. If you think about the big economic legislation.
No one's telling us what that plan is. Nobody is telling us what that plan is. But you keep saying she has a serious plan.
Legislation that has been passed in the last 4 years, we have actually seen billions of dollars being put to work, thousands of jobs being created, much of which are in red states and red counties, bringing manufacturing jobs.
And yet everyone feels like they're impoverished. Maybe it's because they're paying that other tax of inflation.
Back now, they're not the old manufacturing jobs, they are new manufacturings. And this friction, this period of change doesn't just happen overnight. Right. So Donald Trump, who really appealed to that blue collar, that union worker in 2016.
Which is why we did the weird thing of framing our entire interview in what looked like someone's garage.
Kind of on a guttural, emotional level.
Oh, not all intellectual. You're the intellectual. Yeah, you're the intellectual.
Administration appealed to that base on a policy level. But she knows she's not getting those votes overnight. We know she didn't get the Teamsters endorsement. And she said, I mean, I asked her straight out, you didn't get the Teamsters endorsement. What does that say about you? Is that a canary?
Does receiving K1 make you a business owner? I don't think so. No. I don't know. Don't ask me legal tax questions. I'm not a tax expert. I'm gonna ask your accountant. I don't know. It should be criminal for them to lie like this. You would think. But if the Ministry of Truth has their way, then me refuting it would be what's condemnable. You can trust Triple K like you can trust the clap to make it burn when you pee. Very reliable on that. Was joking. She bought one share of UVXY. Oh. Their faces look like that woman in the movie Brazil. I haven't seen the movie Brazil. I didn't even know there was a movie Brazil. But they just look very, very plastic.
In the coal mine, and she said, I have to earn their votes. And bringing these jobs back and bringing dignity to these jobs and these communities takes time, and she's out on the trail working on it.
What else did she say, Steph?
What else did she say, Steph? What else did she say, Steph? What else did she say? Tell us more great things she said, Steph.
I mean, if you just think about in total, she's laying out a detailed economic plan because she's.
No, she isn't. What is the detailed plan? Nobody knows. She's got her $50,000 for the tax deduction, which is useless as far as encouraging anyone to start a new business, because no one's worrying about that when they're starting a business. If they're paying taxes, it means they're making profits. So she's giving money, $6,000, which I doubt that even offsets the inflation cost for someone who has a new kid. If you're not having new kids because, hey, we want you to abort any kid who you conceive, I'm not sure how that's helping you. And she's got a $25,000 thing for the housing, which is only going to increase demand, which is already sky high, and what's driving up the cost of price, the price of houses. It's only going to increase demand. So, great plan, very detailed ineptitude.
She's got a problem, right? People keep saying, I don't know what her plan is. I don't know who she is.
Nobody knows what her plan is. You don't know what her plan is.
I hear about her policies, but I don't see myself in them.
Yeah.
So her challenge and what she did today and what she did while we sat down is trying to make people understand that her policies, her vision for a better economic future serves everyone, right? If you and I live in the same small...
She doesn't say how she's going to get anything done. None of it.
Small town, Nicole, and you get a $25,000 starter for your small business. I might not work at that store, but I want that store in my downtown. I don't like that my downtown is hollowed out because everyone's left to go work at an Amazon factory. So she's trying to help people understand by expanding the child tax credit, by helping people get childcare. You're going to put more women back in the workforce. You're going to help families have more money to spend. And even if you aren't that working mom, even if you're not that person starting a small business, if you help the community around you, everyone will lift. And she does point out that in Trump's policy,
that doesn't lift anyone. Helping someone survive doesn't help them much. What helps an economy grow actually is innovation. So it's not lifting anything. All it's doing is raising taxes all the more, or higher inflation by printing more money. That's all it's doing, which everyone pays. Everyone pays that tax, higher inflation.
he is looking to cut taxes for corporations or for the super wealthy, kind of calling people out. Something that I would say is different in interviewing Vice President Harris versus.
I think we're starting to see why it is that Democrats have crappy economies. I think we're starting to see that. I think we're starting to see this. It's becoming pretty apparent because this is just stupid economics.
Is President Biden. President Biden was pretty clear. In fact, I interviewed him 4 years ago this week, and he kind of had that line, I'm here for Scranton, Pennsylvania, not Park Avenue. And she said, I absolutely want everyone to pay their fair share, from billionaires to corporations, but I can work with everyone. I have worked with everyone.
Really? When does she work with anyone? Like, I mean, in a non-sexual way.
And I'm all for everyone being a big success. And her argument is she wants to build an inclusive country, an inclusive economy. And where I think that's so important, Nicole, is what I didn't hear from her.
You notice how she's constantly shaking her head and closing her eyes? But let's hear what you didn't hear from her.
Was divisive language.
Really? Really? She seemed to be bashing Trump the entire time. Really? I guess they don't. I went through this the other day, how they don't consider that divisive.
But I barely even heard from her ripping on Donald Trump. Imagine if I was sitting against Donald Trump. Imagine the language he would be using, please. And just the fact that we were talking about collaborative inclusivity.
What language should you be using? He walks through policy. He actually walks through it in far more detail. God, such a gaslighter. Such a gaslighter. Damn it. Being serious is an age-old plan of being serious, and if you can learn the past, can be learned like the past, then you wouldn't understand that it's a serious plan to unburden the future from the unburdened past. And you just need to be able to see how it's seriously going to unburden us, to see what's out there, because Americans have vision. That's who I believe we are. That's what America is. We're hardworking people with vision, and we need to be unburdened by the unserious plan we had towards the more serious. God, that's what they do look like, the Stepford Wives. Her dress looks like a sexy pilgrim. It's a Thanksgiving special. Obama made such lying okay. Trump must reverse it. It's true with reversing the Smith-Mundt Act. It's true. Inane blather has a quality of its own. Is there an Emmy award for looking like adult on network news? Triple K, Steph, and the other trick won it tonight. Nice.
I don't know, Nicole, vote for her or don't vote for her. But isn't it great to just have a positive conversation right now?
I mean, Mark Cuban was so mushy. I started smiling. I had him right under the speech. After what Donald Trump said about you, I hope you would be divisive if you were sitting across from him, but we'll put a pin in that. Let me play some more.
Never.
Listen to this line here.
Never.
Let me play more.
So she's saying, I hope, she's like, you, of course she would be. They're always divisive with him. And they're like, he's so divisive. I'm going to come out here attacking you. And then I'm going to say how divisive you are. So let's listen to this comment here from Stephanie Rule with her weird expressions. Listen to this comment. And I'm going to ask you what the hell she's trying to say. Because even her host, I don't know Blondie's name, but even her host seems utterly confused by what Stephanie Rule is about to say here. I'm like, I don't know what the hell is happening here.
Speech. After what Donald Trump said about you, I hope you would be divisive if you were sitting across from him, but we'll put a pin in that. Let me play some more.
Never.
Let me play more of your interview.
Nicole, let's be clear. I thought he liked bimbos.
I'm going to leave that right there. You're
Is she calling herself a bimbo? No, seriously. Is she calling herself a bimbo? Because when she was conducting this interview, that's what I was thinking. Is she? What is happening here?
Let me play more of your interview.
Nicole, let's be clear. I thought he liked bimbos.
Did he call her a bimbo? Is that what happened? Now I gotta find it. Because Trump rule. Donald Trump calls Bill Maher a befuddled mess, slams bimbo Stephanie at MSNBC's host appearance on Real Time. Former President Donald Trump wrote a lengthy post Saturday on his Real Time. On late night talk show Friday night, Maher, Rule, and Stevens discussed the former president's recent claim that if he doesn't win 2024 election, Jewish people won't have a lot to do with it. Whenever the autocrat starts blaming the Jews, I think it's a great sign, because when has that ever turned out badly? Where's he blaming the Jews? He's saying the Jews would have a lot to do with it. Yeah, because the Jewish vote, that means the Jewish vote came out. That's what it means, which unfortunately, to be real, most Jews are irreligious, and irreligious Jews tend to be Democrat. Stevens, meanwhile, described Trump as a really scary guy and anti-Semitic adjacent. No, anti-Semitic adjacent with his daughter who's Jew and son-in-law and grandchildren who are Jews. Stupid. Okay, I'll tell you this as an Orthodox Jew. I'll tell you this without any hesitation: Democratic Party is 10 times as anti-Semitic and I'm aware of the anti-Semitism that's certainly been burgeoning on the right over the last year. I'm aware of it. I see it. I'm not blind to it. It can be chilling sometimes. And whatever anti-Semitism I see on the right is like, I don't want to exaggerate. I was going to say 10 times, but it's really about, I would say, a third to a quarter of the level of anti-Semitism that there is in the Democratic Party. And it's not even a question in my mind. Not even a question in my mind. So when these jackasses start trying to tell me who's anti-Semitic, I'm just like, shut the hell up, you freaking frothing Jew-hating. And many, by the way, when I'm referring to the anti-Semites on the left, many of them are self-hating Jews. Many self-hating Jews. Someone could be Jewish and be an anti-Semite. Yeah, there is such a thing. Sadly, all too common. So yeah, don't sit here telling me about how he's an anti-Semite. So Trump wrote on Saturday on Truth Social, the ratings challenge Bill Maher and his increasingly boring show on HBO is really having a hard time coping with Trump derangement syndrome. He's a befuddled mess, sloppy and tired. Every conversation with B and C list guests seems to start with or revert back to me. On Real Time with Bill Maher, Stephen said he would not vote for Trump, but he also hasn't committed to Vice President Kamala Harris either because the political positions are still unclear to him. Kamala Harris is not running perfect. She's running against Trump, Rule responded. We have two choices. And so there's some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016, for a lot of American people, we know exactly what Trump will do and who he is and the kind of threat he is to democracy. He's a threat to democracy. In his True Social post, Trump called Rule a dumb as a rock bimbo. So that was the inspiration. That was the inspiration. Stevens, a Trump-hating loser who seemed totally confused and unsure of himself, very much like Maher himself. God bless you, Donald Trump. God bless you. It's so bad. Host name is Trick, is it? I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. My God, look at that mouth. What happened to her upper lip? What happened to her upper? Where did it go? What happened to it? Oh my God. She's like a victim of like some really heinous attack. Host name is Trick. They both look like they have the side trick on only old guy is really riled up tonight. Look at Dersh, says a lot. Yeah, even Dersh switched over. So I guess she's not really referring to herself as a bimbo. She's referring back to his line. That's what that is. That's what that is. Yeah. He's a threat to democracy. As opposed to like, I don't know, the democracy we have in the Democratic Party where no one in the public gets to vote for who their candidate is in 2 out of the last 3 elections. Oh my God. As opposed to the democracy we have where we cancel anyone who we disagree with. The democracy we have where we have the worst abuse of First Amendment rights in American history, according to Judge Terry Dowdy. That kind of democracy. Your democracy is not a democracy. Your democracy is not something anyone should be hoping for. The democracy that you envision, that you embrace, that you're pushing on America is not a democracy. That is tyranny. And anyone who's hoping for your type of democracy is either in bed in league with you or an idiot. Because it's not democracy. Democracy doesn't mean I get what I want. That's not what democracy means. That's exactly what tyranny is.
I'm gonna leave that right there. You're having a banner week, and I'm not gonna slow it down. I'm just gonna lift it up. Let me do this. Let me play more of the interview. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Expanding that child.
Yeah, we saw this. This idiocy.
Look at a plan such as mine that is about investing in the economy.
I do, but here's what's a little.
Talk about that answer.
Talk about that answer. I don't have an insightful question. Talk about that answer.
I do, but here's what's a little tricky. She doesn't answer the question around.
Oh, look at her face dying. Look at her face dying. Wait, no, say only great things about Kamala. Why are you saying something I don't like? She didn't answer any questions. Look at her face. Look at that. This is before, after. Before, after. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Look at her face dying. Talk about that answer. She didn't really answer my question. Oh my God. That was another great moment from the debate. Tell us about that answer. Oh, well, she didn't really answer my question. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. The look of horror on her face.
If the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from? Is, to expand the
Oh, by giving us more inflation and printing more money.
Child tax credit and do all the things she wants to do. And she says, we just have to do it. And that's great. And that's a campaign promise. But the issue is, if it means we're just going to borrow again, then what we're doing is we're just never addressing the deficit. And back in the days when you...
Oh, thank you for explaining what a stupid answer it was.
Were a proud Republican, debts and deficits mattered. Now, I said this the other day, she is running for president, not perfect, as it relates to the deficit.
Not perfect. Making inflation even worse. Not perfect. Not really perfect. She's just running for president, not perfect.
Donald Trump is going to balloon it significantly bigger than Vice President Harris will. But that is an overall issue that we're never, it's like the American people have forgot, or we no longer think that debt and deficits matter. They will at some point as they balloon. So she's saying it doesn't matter. We're going full steam ahead. And I mean, I don't fault her for it because the American people aren't prioritizing, saying you have to focus on this. And as much as she's not focused on it, Donald Trump's not, in a much bigger way.
Oh, much bigger way. I'll tell you one way we'll have a massive savings on printing money is that we're not going to be sending trillions of dollars to Ukraine. That's, let's save another $100 billion over the next 4 years on that failed fiasco. That's one way he'll save money. So tell me how she's going to get that extra $100 billion. Doofus. You can understand why people refer to her as a dumb as rocks bimbo.
And that is the person she's running against.
Steph, while you were interviewing Vice President Harris, we got to talk to Mark Cuban, who said just on.
Yeah, I don't care about Mark Cuban. He at least built a business, but he knows that he's better off if he's sitting with the communists than against them. So anyhow, I think it's time for me to start landing my plane. I have one thing I wanted to share with you. That one last thing while you're here, by the way, first and foremost, before I share this pretty funny ad. I think you're going to like it. From the white guys, the white dudes for Kamala. There's more. Oh, yeah, there's more. If you could please like and subscribe, maybe share, drop a comment down below. Do you think that Kamala was as disastrous as I've been laying her out to be? You think maybe I'm not cutting her enough? I'm giving her too much credit, too little credit? I'd really like to hear your thoughts on that. Drop a comment. I get a lot of people watch this show after the fact, and I'm totally cool with that. But I appreciate if you could drop a comment, like, share, subscribe, do all that great stuff, all that great algorithm stuff. Starting to get back in a little bit of growth. YouTube finished tithing from me. I'm going to be having 100,000 thank yous on Sunday evening. So you're not going to want to miss that. I'm going to have a whole bunch of guests in here who help my channel grow into what it is. And yeah, but I want to just share this with you before I get on out of here. This was something I stumbled on that I thought was just hilarious. New ad from the white dudes for Kamala. I'm not sure if it's the white dudes or it's just her own stupid ad, but oh my God, this is great. Oh, one old guy's opinion says Democrats disenfranchised all their members just like they've always done since they owned other human beings to work their fields, clean their clothes, and clean their houses in the 1800s, then did worse in the 1900s. They're awful. That party cannot sink fast enough. Kamala-splaining. Hashtag Kamala-splaining. I guess that's what they're doing. That's the after wrap is. Let's do some Kamala-splaining now. Do a quick check here, make sure I didn't miss anything else before I get to this last little 2-minute commercial, which you're gonna like. I got a feeling you're gonna like it. Let me check this out here. Make sure I'm good. Okay, I'm good there. All right, here we go. Look, A lot of you might be considering not voting for Kamala Harris come November 5th. You might be thinking to yourself, I don't know, I'm feeling Trump. The whole getting shot in the ear thing, how they're trying to kill him. I don't really like the whole tyranny thing here with them trying to imprison him or trying to lock him up for ridiculous crimes. I'm not crazy with what they did to the economy. I don't think that they have much of a clue here. I don't really like the fact that they're killing millions of fetuses every 4 years. I'm not really down with that whole thing. That we can expect on average over the next 4 years another 32,000 late-term abortions. Not really down with that. You might be thinking about that, but I don't think you're thinking about the big picture. I don't think you're appreciating just the magnitude of the times that we happen to be living in. So I'm just going to present to you what you should be thinking about, on election night. Election night, November 5th, 2024. Notice how the woman in the hijab is sitting with the white woman and the other Italian dude at Bardo's Pizzeria. They're with. It's a restaurant which has every ethnicity in it. That's right, every ethnicity is in there. That's because it's just like every other restaurant you've ever been to.
This is just coming in. It's now looking likely that Trump has beaten Harris to the White House. The Constitution may be overturned. The president may remain in office far beyond his 4-year term. The DOJ and SEAL Team 6 have vowed to hunt down every enemy of the Trump regime. The president decides that his rival is a corrupt person, and he orders the military to assassinate him.
He's going to come after all the interracial couples? The police are going to be beating down the doors of all the interracial couples?
Is that within his official acts? From what we can see, that could well be an official act.
He's totally allowed to kill all his political enemies under the Supreme Court's decision.
Ironic, isn't it? The man in charge of enforcing laws can now just break them. The president is now king above the law.
He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, no, other than day one. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution.
I should have voted.
You didn't vote?
Vote Harris Walls this November.
You didn't vote? You didn't vote? Man, if she had voted, everything would have been changed. If she had voted, it's all her fault. Get her. How did she not vote? What? Everything would have changed if if that woman would have voted. Why didn't they tell her before the election to vote? I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. Man, everyone should be yelling at her. You didn't vote. You didn't vote. Who is that paid for by? Who is that paid for by? Paid for by Bardo? What the hell is Bardo? That was the name of the restaurant I thought in the beginning. Bardo's Pizzeria, serving the truth. Oh my God. Oh my God. They're so bad at this. They're so bad. They're so bad. Yep, solid breath of the election. Good night, brother. You're welcome. Like Rodney Dangerfield said, the dinner of the living dead. It was so creepy and weird. That white girl. It's all her fault. It's all her fault. Everyone knows it's always white people's fault. You notice I didn't have a black person. No, it's a white woman. It's a white woman's fault. It's a white person's fault. I'm surprised it wasn't a white dude. I guess they're trying to appeal to white women. They figured, go out there and vote. Yeah, that's definitely what it was. They said, "Oh, we need to have a high turnout from white women." That's what it was. That's what it was. It took me a second to realize that. I'm slow tonight. I'm so slow. You might think to yourself, "Oh my God, Joe, did you eat some of that lab meat?" No. There's planes circling right now. They're coming down. They see the runway, and there's the guy with the lights, and he's like, "No, this way, like whatever." The planes are circling. So we got two things that we got to remember here as the planes are coming down. Right? Two things. Two things to remember. They're coming down pretty quickly. It's like, like nosedive. Yeah, there you go. Right. So last two things I got to tell you before I get out of here, and I am going to be out of here within the next 30 seconds. The first one is this, my friends. I thank you so much for joining me. I really do. I appreciate that. Don't be late on Sunday. Notifications to follow. First thing is don't touch that lab meat. And second, and perhaps most important thing you can take away from this whole show is no matter how they try to dress it up and spice it, no matter what they tell you about it, they can put it, they can throw it in filet mignon, whatever. No, they can throw it in the most choicest lab meat. Ew, what is that? No, do not. Don't eat the bugs. Have a good night, my friends. And as always, Godspeed.